Okay. Mr. Executive Director, would you please give notice of the meeting with the Secretary of State?
Yes, it was posted.
Okay. Madam Vice Chairman Williams, will you please call the roll?
Tawana Atunji. Here. Les Barnett.
Here.
Pete Conroy.
Here.
Logan Glass.
Here.
William Green.
Here.
Ferris Stevens.
Here.
B.B. Williams. And Ryan Cantor.
We do have a quorum, so I'll call the meeting to order. The first item.
We have a little volume.
Yes. The first item on the agenda is to review the minutes. Have all the commissioners got to review the minutes? I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as they are. Do I hear a motion? Accept the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Hear a second?
I second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? On the setting of other business, the only thing that needed to be added is the report of the nominating committee. So I'd like to add that to the agenda under old business. And that being the first thing on the agenda, I would like to ask that Les Barnett give a report of nominating committee.
Okay, all the people nominated have been contacted, and
There's a microphone right there.
oh, is it?
Yeah. Was it a speaker or microphone?
That's just for the recording. You just gotta speak up louder.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
So the nominating committee met, and all the people that have been nominated by the nominating committee have been contacted and agreed to serve. And so I will move that the nominations for the slate be accepted, and they are for Chairman Ferris Stevens, and for Vice Chairman William Green, and for Secretary Logan Glass.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Moved and second. Any discussion? There being none, we'll take a vote on the motion. All in favor of the slate as announced, please signify. Do we want a roll call on this? Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. And thank you for your confidence. Under new business, we have a report from the Alabama Public Television PBS Review Committee that we created on November the 18th. Okay. And so I will turn that over to. Did you want to?
Pause for a second.
Okay.
We need to pause so people can hear us in the back. I need to figure something out.
He's not going to a speaker.
We have speakers that will pick up these microphones.
So, in order for me to get audio that's good for the stream, I can't run stuff to the speakers at the same time without it feedback.
Right.
Is the issue.
The answer is to speak loudly about like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Everybody's just gonna have to speak really loud. They can't hear anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to go to the executive, my report, yeah.
Yes. I'll turn it over to
Okay.
the
You want me to go ahead and read this?
Rainey and Melissa.
Okay. Then you gotta go down to this. Because it's before the executive. So, yeah. Good morning, and welcome to the Alabama Educational Television Commission meeting. On behalf of Executive Director Wayne Reed, I want to begin by offering his sincere apologies for my serving as his voice today. Due to ongoing health issues and the temporary loss of his voice, Wayne is unable to speak at length and will be conserving his voice for only the most essential moments during the meeting. Wayne also asked me to extend his heartfelt thanks to each of you for being here. He is especially grateful to special guest Pam Huff Simpson, who has chosen to spend her birthday with us today, and an act that certainly reflects her dedication and commitment. We also want to thank all of you who have traveled from across the state to attend this meeting. Your presence and continued engagement mean a great deal. This morning, I will walk you through the Executive Director's Report alongside members of the leadership team, much as Wayne would typically do. Finally, Wayne would like me to personally express his deep appreciation for the support, encouragement, and kind words so many of you have shared with him over the past weeks and months. Those gestures have meant more than can be adequately expressed. Thank you again for being here and for your continued support of Alabama Public Television. Now it's Pam and Eric. Okay. All right, so first, we have our APT PBS Review Committee with Pam Huff Simpson and Eric Land. Just to give a little background on both of them, Pam comes to us with over 50 years of television broadcast experience. She's an Emmy Award-winning journalist, an experienced education reporter, mentor to numerous reporters, anchors, producers in the newsroom across the state of Alabama. Eric is born and bred into the television broadcast industry. His father was the head of the Educational Television Commission in Ohio for over 30 years. He was appointed by 4 governors, and he did this while he was running commercial television stations, multi-state commercial television stations. In addition, Eric started in the broadcast industry sweeping floors for his dad at the television stations, and then became a reporter, went into television sales, and then ran multi-market television stations as general manager. So they both come with an enormous amount of experience and credentials to bring us this report. Pam?
Thank you so much. This is on, right? Okay, great.
Hold on.
1 second.
He said 1 second? Yeah. Okay.
Good question.
That's why she's got 50 years experience.
Yep, that's the experience.
I'll wait till you tell me. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Good.
All right. Good morning. I am Pam Huff Simpson, and I am one of 5 members of an advisory committee created, as you know, on a motion by Board Member Pete Conroy and approved by this commission in November 2025. I, along with fellow advisory committee members, Eric Land, who of course is here with us today, James Spann, who I'm sure is at a school somewhere, Kyle South, and Karen Milligan, are tasked with providing guidance and recommendations aligned with the priorities used by Governor Kay Ivey in her letter to this commission in November of 2025. Our advisory committee reviewed the presentation given by Executive Director Wayne Reed during that November 2025 Special Alabama Educational Television Commission meeting. Mr. Reed's analysis made it strikingly clear to us that the financial burden of replacing PBS programming, in addition to web and streaming services, content distribution, and support infrastructure, would be unsustainable for Alabama Public Television. As this commission certainly already knows, approximately 90% of APT's current programming schedule is sourced from PBS. Replacing this amount of content would be both challenging and costly. The cost, in fact, could more than double current expenditure, and it would likely lead to a decline in membership, which of course then would simply compound the long-term financial impact for APT. We also cannot forget our youngest viewers. PBS Kids shows serve as, if you will, a lifeline for learning for so many young children in our state. One of the reasons for that is the following. Just over 40% of 4-year-olds are now enrolled in Alabama's first-class pre-K program. It began 26 years ago. Many other children and their parents, though, count on Sesame Street and Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood and many, many other programs to learn their letters, their colors, and so much more. So armed with this information, the advisory committee came to the unanimous conclusion that disaffiliation with PBS would be a critical mistake. Instead, we recommend this long-term partnership, one in fact forged 57 years ago with PBS, be allowed to continue. To this point, no public television station in the country has disaffiliated with PBS. The advisory committee certainly has followed the actions, however, of Arkansas PBS, which until a meeting last month had been set to become the first educational television network to disaffiliate. The people of Arkansas spoke out loudly against it. Two former First Ladies of Arkansas, one Republican, one Democrat, united in an effort to prevent that disaffiliation. At its March meeting, the Arkansas Educational Television Network Commission voted to delay its decision to disaffiliate for 180 days to allow for further fundraising efforts. The advisory committee finds this decision one that speaks to Governor Ivey's letter sent to this commission. In plain English, there is no reason to put the cart before the horse. The governor requests that no sweeping, immediate action concerning APT disaffiliating with PBS be taken without, in her words, quote, a thorough planning process and only with a thorough understanding of public opinion. The advisory committee would respectfully contend that neither of those qualifications have been met. There is no written disaffiliation plan in place for public review, and no survey of Alabama voters by a reputable market research firm has been carried out to this point. In fact, with the advisory committee's recommendation that there be no disaffiliation with PBS, we believe that such a survey would not be the best use of funding. If the Commission chooses to continue to pursue a plan of disaffiliation, its first step must be to create a written plan identifying the reasons for disaffiliation. Governor Ivey wants such a plan available for public review for, again, in her words, a considerable length of time before any vote is taken. In conclusion, the purpose of public television is to educate, to inform, and to serve. The advisory committee believes that purpose would best be accomplished by asking probing questions and seeking the most effective solutions. No doubt, this commission sees its future with PBS at a crossroads. Crossroads offer choices. The path chosen now will have dramatic impact for years to come. We trust you will do your homework and that you will choose the next step wisely. Thank you.
Thank you for that nice introduction for both of us. But one of the most prideful things I ever got to do was to be on the board of directors of WEDU Television, the educational station in Tampa, Florida, for a number of years as well. And it followed my dad's legacy. Ladies and gentlemen of the Alabama Education Television Commission and APT staff, on behalf of my fellow appointees, I'm honored to have the opportunity to investigate and offer conclusions on our assignment stipulated in Governor Ivey's letter to the AETC last fall. I believe it's always beneficial to take a step back when a challenge is presented, as the AETC did by proposing to eliminate PBS from APT's schedule. Having a long business career, predominantly recognized for being a fixer, I've often taken on the status quo without fear or favor. This challenge, the concept of replacing PBS with alternative programming, has been an outstanding exercise for everyone involved, frankly. It's given APT's operators a chance to measure every what-if scenario possible with the goal How do we secure the operation's future? Following in the vein of Pam's erudite remarks, I would offer our committee studied in great detail the overview and the report presented by your executive director during the November 2025 meeting. The veracity of that impressive and comprehensive review is clear. Ending APT's relationship with PBS would not only be a catastrophic financial disaster on so many levels, it would undermine the very purpose and intrinsic public asset that has served this state's educational needs for more than 70 years. Specifically, costs to fill over 90% of the broadcast day would exceed APT's revenue potential. Costs for music license fees, which are part of PBS dues, cover all of the APT network currently. Well, that would have to be borne by each of the 9 television licenses within APT's network and would reach a cost of more than $1 million all by itself. The blanket arrangement APT has with PBS to cover music licensing for the entire network would no longer exist with CSAC, ASCAP, and the other music licensors. Now, enough of us have gray hair. We may remember the early days of television when cable operators approached city governments with the offer to carry all the local TV stations and the market's PBS station. Especially back then, before digital, all television was broadcast in analog, and public stations were mostly relegated to the UHF band. Cable gave public stations the chance to have equal signal capability with their commercial TV sister stations. Cable was then the great equalizer for UHF TV, and city governments approved their franchises. However, unlike commercial TV stations, which can bargain with cable and virtual multi-video programmers, or VMPDs, for retransmission dollars as an added revenue stream for them, public stations, by virtue of their government support, are denied that opportunity and thus fall under the must-carry provision of the Cable Act. Should APT disassociate with PBS, the likelihood would be that those cable and MVPDs would continue to carry PBS, and they do it on the channel now assigned to APT. APT would have to fight with each cable operator in the state, and there are scores, so that they could be carried somewhere, and then promote itself with outside media sources at great expense for viewers to find that new channel position. The cost for this would not be one time, by the way. Viewers who were loyal to PBS programming would still be able to watch their favorite shows, while APT would be hat in hand promoting unknown programming outside the brand for which it's become popular throughout Alabama. In a 1,000-channel universe with no recognizable programming to attract current viewers, let alone recruit new viewers, that change in itself would create an irreversible viewership and financial disaster. Production costs for high school sports would not change, but with viewership likely to drop by over 50%, the depreciation in underwriting value and the need to renegotiate those contracts would be a financial calamity. Cost to replace APT's website and app, which is PBS supported, would create a financial hardship and require technical expertise, including writing, producing, content updating of Grace Note, for example, among other important elements, costing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Membership loss to the tune of $3 million could not be replaced. Those members who heard or read about the possibility of losing PBS on APT made clear their contributions, which total about $3 million, would likely be terminated. These viewers know there's no alternative programming that could equal that of PBS. They would speak loudly with the channel changer and their checkbooks, as they've indicated. And they also know that programming can't be replicated locally. Starting over with unknown programming that would not come close to meeting the quality quotient of PBS and their offerings, and its educational benefits, would take years to reestablish, if at all. The unsolicited, overwhelming response from viewers, members, and donors, and the public at large at the thought of losing PBS is impossible to ignore. APT does not have the financial capability to withstand years of loss on the if-come, new, untested programming will resonate with viewers and, importantly, with donors. It's time to separate emotion and the specter of political ambition from reality. Is separating from PBS a just cause or just 'cause? Our committee unanimously favors continuing APT's relationship with PBS for the indeterminate future. Warts and all, and by that I mean there may be programs some of you don't care to watch, and that's fine. But throwing the baby out with the bathwater is a disservice to the community APT has dedicated itself for over 70 years to serve. It would be outside the bounds of the Commission's original charge. We would hope the Commission would rededicate itself to finding ways to enhance APT's legacy and work together to find new funding sources to grow APT's unique value. We have in APT a jewel that Alabama and the public television universe in the United States has long recognized has no equal. Eliminating PBS would be tantamount to destroying one of Alabama's prized assets at a time when APT's statewide educational value should be celebrated, not torn asunder. Our committee's conclusion: PBS now, PBS tomorrow, and PBS for the future sake of Alabama Public Television. Thank you in advance for doing what's right for APT and the great state of Alabama.
Thank you, Pam and Eric. Let's see.
Other new business?
Well, this would be a continuation of this if you,
Okay.
BB had asked me to.
I had been approached by a number of people, which we have enjoyed. And, oh, okay. Sorry. I've been accused of being soft-spoken. Unless you talk to my husband, that's probably the case. Carolyn Coleman had approached the board and asked if she could speak to this group. And she is Miss Tennessee Valley at the moment. We hope Miss Alabama and maybe Miss America down the road. Her heart has been, she's raised on APT and just has loved it. But one of the things she's noticed within the schools and very much can be affected by APT in that preschool period is character training. And I looked at some of the stuff we have, and we have several programs that are good that way. But I wanted her to come and speak to you regarding this because that very much answers also the letter that the governor wrote. Carolyn?
When we passed this, you brought up the reason you were wanting to create this committee is because it's for this subject matter that was important to you.
That and doing what Mississippi's doing right now, and they are jumping on their reading levels, and it's because of bringing back the old phonics program, and rather than the See and Say. And so very exciting. And this is the other area was in character development. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Hello, Hello and good morning. My name is Caroline Coleman and I currently serve as Miss Tennessee Valley 2026, and in June I'll have the opportunity to compete for the title of Miss Alabama, and if I win that then I get to go on to compete for Miss America, which is very exciting. A little bit about me, because I'm from Muscle Shoals, Alabama. That's where I currently reside. I come from a very close family. I have 4 siblings: my older sister Grace, an older brother Christopher, pardon me, and a younger brother Gabriel, who is 10 years old. And for reference, I'm 22, so a very large age gap. He is our surprise. And Gabriel is a big reason of why I'm here today. A little bit about Miss America is not just a beauty pageant. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes of what these young women do to become better versions of themselves in this opportunity. It's the world's largest scholarship donor for women, distributing $30 million annually at the local, state, and national level. It's funded much of my education. I'm a graduate of the University of North Alabama, majoring in psychology. It assists women to find their passion, their purpose, and ultimately to give back to their communities through community service. So a fun thing about Miss America is every woman chooses a community service initiative that she's passionate about. And mine is character education. It's something I created when I was 17 years old called Character Counts: Becoming the Best Version of You. With this, a lot of people and a lot of children ask, well, what's character? What is that? And for me, I really lean on C.S. Lewis's quote. He's one of my favorite authors ever. Character is who you are when no one is looking. It's the habits we make. It's the thoughts we think, the words we speak. It's who we are. It's our personalities. Why does that matter? Well, that's who we are, for one. But for number 2, a strong foundation of character shapes decision-making, relationships, and future success. Research suggests much of a child's personality is developed by the age of 5. And while I believe transformation can happen at any age, we can all strive to be the best version of ourselves, I think that seeing this research shows that children need character education in their lives. They need it in their schools. They need it at home. And sometimes we take for granted that children have these role models and they have positive influences where they are. They have that parent, have that grandparent, someone in their life to teach them these character qualities. And that's why I think it's so important that we have positive media, positive role models, and highlight these local and national heroes who exemplify these good character traits so our children can learn about kindness, respect, generosity, and compassion. Another quote that I really like is by William Bennett. He said, "If we want our children to possess the traits of character we most admire, we need to teach them what those traits are and why they deserve both admiration and allegiance." So within the community, with Character Counts, I have had the opportunity to speak to parents, those in the juvenile court system, teachers, government officials, psychological counselors, and so many more, and they revealed a shared need for these universal principles to be highlighted in our media and in the home and in our schools. With these universal principles, we can better connect and empower our youth. So about Character Counts, what I'm doing, I truly focus on teaching core values. The 5 that I really try to focus on are integrity, respect, responsibility, empathy, kindness, and generosity. And these all have been shown to benefit both social and emotional well-being. So with this, I really try to target K through 5 students across Alabama, but me included. I think we can all benefit from trying to be the best version of ourselves and taking in these character qualities. I always like to describe it kind of like playing a piano. You can learn the chords, you can learn the notes, but if you don't practice the piano every single day, you're not going to be a very good piano player, so it takes practice. And that's what I teach these children in the classrooms, is to practice every day to get up and do the next right thing. I love to use literature to read in classrooms and recognize outstanding students in these classrooms. I've had the opportunity to co-create a character education curriculum with the first-class pre-K educators to ensure long-term impact as a free resource for teachers and for parents. I'm currently writing a children's book centered on kindness, with my sister doing the illustrations and my mom helping me with the rhymes in this children's book. I've had the honor to be recognized by Senator Tommy Tuberville and Governor Kay Ivey for my work with character education. And I've also also recently collaborated with the Liberty Learning Foundation to promote a character quality that's very present this year with the 250th celebration of America, of patriotism, to learn more about our country and to become active citizens, for our children can become active citizens in Alabama. So why am I here today talking to you? Well, I have inspiration and a personal connection with PBS. So I grew up watching PBS. So we actually didn't have cable, but PBS was a free resource for my family to have. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was my favorite. And I remember his kindness, and not necessarily what he said, but how he said it. And that had such an impact on me as I've grown up. And I remember that to this day. But seeing my little brother, seeing the media that's displayed in his life and what's presented to him really showed me that sometimes his media is not very positive. It doesn't highlight those good character qualities that we need, that our children need to grow both social and emotionally. And I've really witnessed how firsthand television and positive messaging can shape a child's life and change their life for the better. So talking to you today, I've had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Stevens and Ms. Williams, and with what we've talked about, I believe we've had a similar mission to promote these positive messages and these character qualities across Alabama. So I'm honestly here just to offer any service I can be with Alabama Public Television, whether that be in the community, passing out books, maybe the possibility of character education TV shows, any way that I can promote your mission and what you do across Alabama, because I've seen it and it's positive, it's affected me. I grew up on Alabama Public Television with these good TV shows, and I've benefited from it. And so if I can further your message in any way, I'm here to serve you and to also thank you, and thank you for letting me be here today. So in closing, I'd like to say that character education empowers individuals to live with intention, guided by core values. It equips young people to become the best version of themselves while serving others and strengthening their communities. And something I want to leave you with is to think of character qualities like seeds. And these character qualities, if we plant them daily, will create an environment to give our children the opportunity to flourish and grow in a safe classroom to be the best version of themselves. Thank you.
To follow up, I want to thank all the speakers. Some I've known a very long time. I think it's obvious that we're not going to, our contract ends on June the 30th. Obviously, we're not going to, disaffiliate between now and the contract comes up on June the 30th. It'll be, and usually Wayne automatically does that every year. But as everyone knows, we're in a different situation now, and that is that we automatically got, around $2.6 million every year, and that was like, we didn't have to think too much about it. That was just paid for. And so we're in a different situation now. We always did decide every year, do we want to keep PBS? And that was a decision that was made, and the dues were already there. The federal money, was about the same amount as what what we received from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is no more. And so, after we voted to continue the contract, and it appears we're going to continue this contract for right now, and but we have to decide this thing every year. And so, after we decided to do it last year, to continue, the commission resolved to have a committee to decide on basically the guidelines of what the governor had in her letter, and that is and that included making sure Alabama values were in our public television system, as well as doing a survey as a way to measure that as well. And so we're going to have these issues come up every single year. And so, one of the things we discussed after we already decided to continue with PBS is to further find out what the people of Alabama want. And so, what I have done is I have called, and in the letter it said a reputable poll, and so reputable poll that everyone has to do a survey of what Alabamians want in public television is McLaughlin Group. And so that's the consensus that everyone, and really across the country has, that they have asked, that I have asked them for a price, and that price is around $47,500 to do a real survey, and that real survey would include, what do you want in a public television station? Is PBS complying with that? Or is what we have as programming, do we comply with that? Is that what you want? And so we really want, if we want to know what really the people want, then we have to ask them what they want. And so we want to find out what they really do think. And so so that's why I got this quote from the McLaughlin Group. There's a Signal Group out there that I also got a quote from, CYNAL, from Mr. Bob Weinstein, and he gave a similar amount to do this survey, which is $41,000. And basically what this involves is interviewing about 600 people as a cross-section with 35 to 40 questions. And then it would be, each survey would be approximately 20 minutes. And that will give you a real survey, a real consensus of what people of Alabama want. And in the governor's letter, she specifically mentioned that we should poll voters. And so, she used interchangeably citizens as well. So I wanted to report on that. I just think it's an important thing. Personally, I think it's an important thing to do. We resolved, even after we decided to keep PBS, it looks like we're going to keep them for this year. But so if there's anyone that would like to, I'll entertain a motion if anyone would like to have the survey as to what Alabamians think, and then the questions would be from, that would be approved by the commission of what would be asked in such a survey.
Ferris, before we ask for that motion, I think it's really important for you to understand the letter in the email from the governor that said we would only pursue a survey if indeed we were going to disaffiliate. And we have not made that decision. And I would very much like to postpone any discussion about a contract for a survey, because you've already been talking behind the scenes about getting a survey that would support your predetermined outcomes. I don't want to do that. I would like to hear from the staff first, follow the agenda. I'd love to hear from Jack, I'd love to hear from Todd, the rest of, and let us make that decision after we hear from the staff. I think that's fair enough. And the survey that's already been done was the nearly, I guess it's over 1,500 emails that you've received. And I think it's important that the folks here in the audience and the folks that are listening understand that 99% of those emails, I don't know if you've read them, Ferris, and I'd like to read a few of them out loud. Have you read the one from Catherine Harbert?
Yes.
Have you read the one that came from Danny Garrett?
Yes.
I think it's important that we soak all of that in before we disregard the governor's letter and proceed with a survey when she said we should only do so if we're going to disaffiliate. We've not made that decision. And in fact, I think, again, I'm prepared with a motion, but I'll hold off on that as well, because I think it's important to hear from the staff, to hear what's being said on the street before there's a commitment to do a survey.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Okay, I think the words were a reputable survey. receiving 1,500 or 1,000 emails that can easily be generated by a bot or somebody or a group of people with a particular leaning. Therefore, that does not meet the criteria. So there, I would prefer that we have a more scientific and reputable survey, one not looking at just emails in your inbox. That's easy to do. I can probably write something up right here now and get y'all 1,000 emails. So also, the decision right now was made in the short term. I also believe that we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is a decision that will probably take about 3 to 5 years before we even do anything, but we have to make that decision today or at least within a year to be prepared 3 to 5 years to move away from PBS. Just because we agree in the short run to continue with PBS, and I disagree with what he said. He said yesterday, today, yes, but not forever, because we already agreed that the reason why this even come up is because of the direction that PBS is going. And the question is, does APTV wants to go that direction with them 5 years from now? This is a decision that we can't make in 6 months, or we can definitely not make that move in even a year. It's going to probably take us 2 to 3 years, or maybe even more, to separate from PBS, because we've been with them so long, and they do have quality programming. But if we're going to replace that, then what we need to do is we need to take our time, pick alternatives, and figure out the best way to go and look at it. In the interim, we will continue with PBS. But to say that a bunch of emails is a scientific survey and we can rely on that before we make this decision, what we need to do is have a scientific, reliable survey. Then we come back and see. Now, if indeed the public wants to continue that way, then we will listen to them. But nevertheless, I think some of us would agree that the direction that PBS is going, we can't just take all of it, because that little 10%, like the Bible says, a little leaven at the whole loaf. Therefore, we should, because it's important. When she spoke about the character development and some of the things that they're teaching, yes, they may know how to do multiplication, but some of the things that they're teaching is really destroying the character of these children. So we have to look at that, take that into consideration with some of the negative programming. I understand what you're saying, you're leaning over. But I'm saying some of that negative programming, we have to look at the impact. So, so that right now, I think we shouldn't make this decision. I know you probably want to move that we just table it and never think about it, but this is a 3 to 5 year thing if we ever decide to move away from PBS. Therefore, we need a reputable survey and not us just going randomly through our emails and making a decision of something this important.
I'd like to add something to that, please. The emails that Pete is referring to are not bots. They are completely driven from a user going directly to our website, typing in the information, and it's driven directly to everybody. They have to type everything in. In addition to that, we have a number of major donors, and for those of you that don't know what a major donor is somebody that contributes more than $1,000 annually. They have specifically told our major donor officer, Allison Ingram, that if we disaffiliate from PBS, they are done. We have had specific people call and say, if we disaffiliate from PBS, we are removing APT from our will. We will not give you the bequest. Now. They are doing that right now. In addition to that, we don't have $47,000 or $41,000 in our budget to just hand over to a survey when we already know it's going to cost $4 or $5 million out of the gate to disaffiliate from PBS. Why would we want to do that?
What I'm saying.
One of the things we discussed, Wayne and I discussed it, that we would, if we were to do that, it would come. We have a rainy day fund, and we would ask that cover whatever that would be. And so, and just to go to what Pete said, Pete, after we on November the 18th voted to not to disaffiliate, to continue the contract, and you brought up the motion to have this committee, and then I actually asked that question. I said, well, we've already decided not to disaffiliate. Why are we having it? And you said, we want to hear what the people said. We want what the governor says to find out. We want a plan. So then we resolved to do that. We resolved to have a survey.
Manner.
Yeah, and so that's what. That's why I'm entertaining a motion. If not now, when? I think that this is a good time to do it.
Mr. Chairman, could you remain ordered? I have not spoken yet, And we seem to have this agenda going on. I would like to speak, if you don't mind.
And we've already abandoned the agenda, but Les, please.
Well, this is part of the committee report.
Even in the committee at large, you generally take questions in order instead of, okay? So I move the motion, and if I need to say anything about it, otherwise, I completely disagree with Pete's assessment of this. You know, I've been in politics and business for 50 years, and it's simply false. A bunch of emails going in. I used to be part of an organization called Minutemen, where we would get 2,000 people to pick up the phone and call their state House member or Senate in a matter of one day. And so this is something I reject out of hand. I've lived through it. I know what it is, and it's not worthy of any kind of a true assessment of the situation on the ground. But that's not the point. My point is to make the motion to pursue the McLaughlin Group, and that motion needs a second.
I second.
And as part of that motion, if we need money from the rainy day fund, that we would access that.
Yeah, I thought you said that, but yes, that's all part of the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask a question. How do we know that this poll is going to be unbiased?
Well, I have called everyone that, you know, this is a national group that has that reputation. And so I don't think you could go to anyone that said that they were biased. You get the real deal with the McLaughlin Group. And so that's my personal assessment, but it's not just to get a certain result. This is not the polling company you would go to get that, you know, just to get a result. It's what you'll really get is what they have recommended 600 as a minimum, and then if you want 1,000, they can do 1,000, but it costs more. But they said a minimum of 600. And the other signal group, which is more or less, they actually were begun in Alabama, but they're a little more conservative, I guess. But the McLaughlin Group is not. So.
How will the poll be conducted? Will it be conducted by text message, phone calls?
It'll be done by phone calls, and it'll be there will be 600 phone calls, 20 minutes apiece, and then there'll be 35 to 40 questions. There'll be a true cross section of Alabama citizens, and so.
How would these individuals be selected for this poll?
Well, they're a scientific company. I mean, that's what they do. They will have a scientific poll. And they have a reputation. You won't hear liberals or conservatives go to them and say, "Hey, this is a skewed poll in some way."
For the record, McLaughlin is Trump's pollster.
Well, probably a lot of candidates pollsters.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Since every year we have to decide whether we're going to renew the contract with PBS, since we are renewing, what would it hurt if we did the poll now, then, and we're continuing, the results, since we haven't made that decision, how is this really going to benefit us now, the results? What would change? That's what I would like to know.
Well, in the governor's letter, it did say that we don't necessarily want a snapshot, you know, and that's what we resolved to do, is to do a survey. And so I think it would be incredibly beneficial to us. I mean, we really don't know what Alabamians want. I mean, how would we know unless we polled them? And then we could do another one in the future as well. And that's what was suggested in the governor's letter. And we could always kick this can down the road, but I think that we were asked to. Governor had the right ideas in mind, and I think she has, you know, and she expressed what she thought Alabama values should be, and she listed them. I think we should ask those questions. I think that we need to ask, does our programming align with that? What do you want in programming? Do you think we should have character education for parents? I mean, I know that PBS used to do that. I mean, I know that, I remember when Children's Book of Virtues was popular, there was a PBS program, a series about the Children's Book of Virtues. We don't see that much anymore, so if there's a gap there, we would want to know about it. We want to know what we need to produce. And so, so this, our hand is forced because now we don't have $2.6 million we used to. PBS is now in the marketplace, and so they don't automatically get the funding. And so it appears we're going to continue with them from here on out. But I just think we need to be focused on doing that instead of just abdicating. And I think that part of our job, I think the large part of our jobs is to do this, to see the big picture and where we're going to go in the future. And now's the perfect time to do it, in my opinion.
First. If we're going to be with them here on out, at least for a while, I understand the reason why you may want a poll, but I think it's very costly. And that's my thing, wondering, is it the best use of the resources because we haven't made a decision in that direction?
That's just a personal commission thing. I think it's important enough that it is, we should spend the money.
Ferris?
Yes.
Before the vote, please, it says clearly in the letter that the committee is to handle any survey. Secondly, William, I don't know that you're suggesting, it seems as though you're suggesting that some of the responses we've received were bots. And I know the bots in the audience would disagree with that. We have a letter from one of the most prestigious people in the state of Alabama that I'd like to read right now.
No, hold on. You don't have to read it because what I'm saying is
because the public
it's
needs
not
to know.
scientific enough to. But and before I go into look,
So you don't want me to read a letter from a prominent individual in the state of Alabama?
What I'm saying is I got a ton of the same emails. So what I'm saying is that it's not necessary. And you're right. It's overwhelmingly in support of PBS.
You think that's
That's why I voted that we should continue with PBS.
Do you truly believe that any of that was bot related?
I'm saying it's possible because this is what I do, right? So for me to assume, I just don't think it's scientific enough because
I don't know that your comment is scientific enough to say that.
I'm not saying it's that's what I'm saying. We don't know for sure. And another thing, I think we're missing the point. One of the things that the survey is going to do is find out what the people want to see, what they want to get from us, and it serves. It's not just to say should we get rid of PBS. You miss it. If we want to serve the people better and give them better programming, this will also help in that direction. It's not just should we get rid of PBS and is PBS good or bad, and should we die? You're looking at it from the standpoint it will give us feedback from the audience because all the things, most of what you got from the emails, we don't want to get rid of PBS. Okay, that's agreed. But if we do a survey, we can better serve our clients or our customers as well as our donors to provide better programming. Because then we can go back and say, hey, PBS, can you give us X? Can you give us this? Or maybe we can supplement what PBS is doing. It'll make APTV better. And you're looking at it the wrong way because everybody want to keep PBS, and they're saying no. But this survey would make us able to serve our people, even the people in the audience, what they want better to make APTV better, to better serve them. So it serves twofold.
I believe you're looking at it the wrong way, and I'll tell you why. I think immediately when the news gets out that we're entering into crazy land, as it appears as though we're doing right now, I think that the people will start pulling their funds, and I think that they will immediately cripple Alabama Public Television.
We're simply trying to serve them better by finding out what they need. Because if PBS is not meeting that goal, then we need to go back to PBS and say, you're not meeting the goal of what our viewers want to see. Now we're going to get rid of you, serve the customers better.
We have a constant dialogue with PBS, and the people who support us have spoken. And I believe you have a different sense of what's important, and that's cool. But I think the people who do support PBS have weighed in and made it very clear. And I don't think cherry picking an agency is the right way to go about it. I've worked for 6 governors and White Houses, and I'm very familiar with statistical analysis. And I've gone around the state of Alabama doing town hall meetings, and you get, an honest response from people in a very different way than by hiring a firm. And I just strongly think that we're stepping into a very dangerous area by disregarding, what I believe to be the tone of the governor's letter.
Well, I am very excited that we had people show up. But this is not all the tax base. And we do have to serve the entire tax base. And that's why I'm for the survey. And I hope with all my heart that the people that are involved will, instead of saying, okay, if I don't get my way, I'm out of here. No, instead we work together very much like what he was saying, to interact with PBS and get more of what Alabama wants. And the possibility, I know they said they wouldn't do it, but across the country, they're all in the same boat. They all got cut. Some of them have white knights that have stood up and they're carrying them on, but the rest of us are going to be struggling. So I'm encouraging the people that we have here, one, talk to your corporate friends, and let's make a little button that says, I helped save APT. And let's go out and raise money, and then APT can go to PBS and say, here's what we need, more character training. And we do have some, because I checked on a number of the things that you already have in place. The other thing I'm really big on is our kids are coming up through Alabama schools not able to read at level. They're getting better. And the reason is the same thing that they did in Mississippi is starting to filter into our schools. And this is where I'm very excited. There were 4 different programs I found that do deal with phonics. But this type of thing, we not only have to do on the elementary level, let's go into the prisons. Do you know how many people cannot get a job because they cannot even read? And in Japan, they're allowed to get out earlier if they learn. There's so many things APT can do and be just a positive influence. But we also have to pay the bills. So if you say, if it's not going my way, I'm out of here, you're not helping in this situation. We need people that stand up and say, okay, let's fight for APT. And one of the ways is paying for the bill. How are we on the money?
Mr.
As
Chairman,
far
I'd like
as
to call a
paying.
question, point of order. I'd like to call a question.
Okay.
Everyone's spoken.
Okay, call.
Mr. Chairman.
Question's been called, though. I'm sorry. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote.
Tijuana Adetunji.
No.
Les Barnett.
Yes.
Pete Conroy.
No.
Logan Glass.
No.
William Green.
Yes.
Ferris Stevens.
Yes,
And I vote yes.
motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the motion was to go with the McLaughlin Group. I know Jimmy, I've worked with Jimmy. I think he's an excellent pollster. In my previous life running campaigns, I had the opportunity to help do some polls. And if it would make folks feel more comfortable that we got a balanced, non-biased poll, I would be willing to be the liaison between the board and the pollster to make certain that we've got something that everyone can have confidence in. Like I said, I know Jimmy personally, worked with him a number of years, and I'd be willing, if the executive director and the board were willing for me to serve in that role, I'd be happy to do that.
Mr. Chairman, I object to that. After reading the letter that you wrote us, recapping your conversation, I have so many questions about that. Like, one question is that gentleman aware of what happened in Mobile with Brooklyn Air Force Base in the 60s? Is that gentleman aware and cognizant of what happened with Space and Missile Defense Command in Huntsville and what happened with Space Command in Huntsville? I can go on and on with this. I'm just saying I'm not comfortable with it, because I think that I'm not saying you're dishonest in any way. I'm saying that kind of a conversation that you reflected in that letter did not address the issues that we're confronting. And so that's why I object to that.
All right, well, when I have a legislator call me and say, communicate this to your board, what do you want me to do? Do you not want me to let you know?
I would educate the gentleman on the whole situation so that he knows. I have the same kind of relationships that you do. I didn't do it professionally. I did it as volunteer part of my life, and I've been extremely successful, as you know. And when I tried to check out this poll myself, I went to people who are only paid for success. I went to Alpha, whose job is to defend the farmers, and they are very well successful at it. I went to Forestry, who does the same thing, and then and other groups, NFIB. I then went to some elected officials I know who don't have a dog in the fight anymore as far as being elected, Jeff Sessions for one. And they all had exactly two things in common. One, their job was to get something accomplished. And two, they all said the same thing that Ferris said. And we did this independently. I did not call Ferris and ask him about this, or he called me and asked me about it. I independently wanted to know if there were choices out there. And I didn't say which is the best pollster. I said, is there a pollster out there that will give us an unbiased report? Because I know what push polling is. I've run campaigns before, and I understand what that is, and I understand the value of that. And I didn't want that. So I asked for a list. And out of the several people I talked to, they all said there's only one if that's really what you want to do, and that's McLaughlin Group. So that's why I concluded that, and all of them were interested in what I wanted to know, and I said, well, first, would you answer that question? And then later, on most of them a callback, I explained to them that we're trying to find out if we should how or if we should dissociate with PBS and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, it's a long story. We beat the horse until it's dead. I'm just stating that I think that maybe we should have multiple people or something like that, but I was quite concerned about that letter. And I believe if I talked to that gentleman, he would not understand what the situation is. I would wager that he does not watch Brooks and Gephardt or whatever that group is. I don't think he wants, and that's what we're funding. And I know thousands of people as well. I've lived here my whole life, and I run two 10,000 group organizations as volunteer board member, and I'm sure you do all these things too. So I'm not telling you you're wrong. What I'm telling you is I'm not comfortable with that letter. I didn't like it, and I didn't like it for reasons. Now, did you did you forward to us what he asked you to do? Yes, you did. But my concern is, did you inform the gentleman? Is he making an informed decision, or is he just shooting from the hip based on what he's hearing from the local noise? I don't know the answer to that.
Did you say something about, you said Brooks Airport, are you talking about Brookley Field, or you?
I said that earlier. Brooks and Gephardt is a show I watched when all this was beginning to raise its head. I started watching PBS.
John Gephardt and David Brooks. Yes, correct. That have the little segment.
On the show, yeah.
Yes.
But no, when I said Brookley, I was talking about Brookley Air Force Base in Mobile.
Yeah, okay. I don't know the story about Brookley. I'm not even sure what you're talking about Brookley Airfield and how it relates to APT.
Well, it's beyond anything other than maybe the Civil War, the most impactful thing that ever happened to Mobile, Alabama. And it was completely a political decision. Again, it was completely a political decision. And I researched it later once I got into business and noticed that we had whole neighborhoods in Mobile that were quartered off by the police because they were completely deoccupied, and yet there were houses there that were habitable otherwise. And so I researched it, and I found out things like Brookley Air Force Base had the longest and deepest runway in the free world when that base was closed. I remember much later, 20-something years later, the World's Fair in New Orleans had one of the huge jumbo jets and the space shuttle, Discovery, come and land. And I was asked as a civic leader to go and attend that thing. I have a hat, as a matter of fact, from Discovery. Anyway, it's a long story. Why did they come here instead of going to New Orleans? Because the runway, even then, 20, 30-something years later, was the only one around here that could support it and the weight. And then they had to put it on a barge and ship it to New Orleans for the show. I mean, there was no good reason in the world to close Brookley Air Force Base, except that political decision by Lyndon Baines Johnson to close it. Okay? And I of course, am biased. I believe that Alabama's a great place, and I believe that Huntsville is where Space Command used to be. But nonetheless, it was moved from Huntsville to Colorado as a political decision, and it was moved back as a political decision. And I circulated, at the request of some people here, a document which actually did analysis and reported analysis of the economic impact of these different commands, all of which could disappear. All the commands could disappear, and the president has that authority. Congress said we're going to start doing these commissions, but that was for downsizing and closing out bases and things like that. But the president absolutely has the authority to make that decision. Witness Space Command, which is now back in Huntsville. So we're not talking about what we like or what we think is fun here. We're talking about serious economic impact. We're talking about, these are huge numbers. Billions upon billions of dollars is what we're talking about. And I'm not interested in playing with that. This is serious, and I am on it, and I'm going to stay on it because I have done things to get businesses in Mobile and in our state, and I'm going to continue to do it as long as I draw breath and the Lord lets me do it. But I was most unhappy with that, and I don't think it is our job, anyone that's paid or volunteers to work at this place and contribute to this and make it successful needs to be focused on success. And having an opportunity to discuss with a legislator that issue, that obviously is important to him, but he wouldn't have brought it up because he's getting noise about it. And so he comes to you and says, hey, here's what I feel about it. That's a golden opportunity to let that gentleman know what the facts on the ground are from the points of view that also matter, as well as the people that take it upon themselves to write emails and do things like that. And so anyway, that's my point.
You certainly, I actually share some of your concerns. You might be surprised at how much we agree on things. But I think we have some opportunities to make some positive changes. My offer stands should the board decide they want me to do that, because I can assure you I can do it without prejudice or bias.
Sure.
My concern, and everybody keeps talking about the political ramifications of this agency or this research group and their political affiliation. If we look at this as a non-political thing, we're looking at a TV station and what we're supposed to mean to the state and what they want out of us. To me, that's a marketing research company. That's somebody that does marketing and consumer research, not political research. And to me, there are tons of people out there. There are a lot of other marketing research companies like Maggot and worldwide, national, huge international companies that do that type of research that use commercial broadcast use. So one of the questions I had before you guys did the vote was, could we not look at what are all our options as a company that could come in and do what we want them to do, that comes away, like you said, I don't want this to be political. We don't want this to feel political. And having a marketing research company do that, as opposed to somebody who has a political leaning or has worked on political campaigns, would be my question.
And just personally, I don't think McLaughlin had, I think they have a reputation.
I don't know McLaughlin.
They do everybody's.
But somebody that specializes in television would, they know how to, it's like rocket science. They can do it easily.
That was the question that what I was going to bring up was, I think we're going to go with McLaughlin, but I didn't know who they are, other than you told me their name. And I know they're a research company, but I'm thinking of it as a marketing, more of a marketing consumer research company, not a political research company.
Is that all that they do? Politics, all that they do, or do they do research in general? And politics just happen to be one of them. That's what I'm saying. If they say they only do political, then yeah, I see your point, because it's more than just politics. So,
Well, I talked to the executive director.
What does he do?
Zig. His name is Zig, and he seemed to have done gave me the impression they did everything.
Mr. Chairman, can we move on? This issue is settled. I didn't understand. We've already voted on this.
yeah.
Okay, let's see. If you want to continue to report.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, next, we will go through a couple of department highlights. With statewide household reach for the 12-month average of last year of 2025, we had 34% reach over our closest competition of WBRC in Birmingham. We reached over 500,000 households, 572,000. The closest one with WBRC was 429,000 households reached, which is fantastic for us. The highest one was the month of December, which looks like about 625,000. December, of course, is our football championships. Next is our 12-month average for statewide people 2+, and this is actually people, not households, for 882,193. Our closest one also, again, was WBRC with 878,000. And our highest month, again, was also in December with over 1 million reached statewide. Just fantastic stories. We continue to grow. Okay, and next for News and Public Affairs is Todd Stacy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for letting us. I'm so glad that y'all are in Montgomery. Not just because I don't have to brave 65, but I love the fact that you're here. You see our space. For those of y'all, I guess it's been communicated. We've set up a tour of our new studio in the new State House for 2 o'clock. So hopefully things here will be concluded by then, and we can all put on some hard hats and go see our new studio. And I'll get to that a little later, but I hope that y'all will stick around for that. But for News and Public Affairs, we have had an exciting start to the year. As you know, January through April is our really busy time because that's the legislative session. And I'm really proud of our team. We've had a really terrific run, starting with the State of the State, which we cover live. Don't do a ton of live TV, so that's a challenge to go 2 hours. And started off the session just really strong. Have had, I think we had a terrific session. I don't know about the legislature. They struggled through it a little bit. But as all that went through, I was really proud of our team, proud of our program for how we covered the session, the ups and downs and all of it, including what happens in the chamber, what happens in committee. All of that takes a ton of work, but also having guests on our show that kind of reflect what's going on topically. And just kind of an anecdote on that is this was my 5th session serving as host of Capitol Journal. Something I've noticed in recent years is that, especially this year, is that normally booking guests, you got to go out and go find a guest, and that can be a challenge sometimes. But more and more, especially this year, they seek us out. They're coming to us and saying, "Hey, can we get on Capitol Journal?" Whether it's a staffer or lawmakers themselves, especially candidates, as you can imagine. And so that's really cool. When there are big issues that come up, there were a couple this session that were just really big, fired up kind of issues. They sought us out. Hey, we want to come on Capitol Journal. And I think that speaks to, the trust I think we've built, that they know that they are going to get a fair shake. They can explain themselves in longer than a couple of minute soundbite. And so I'm really proud of our team and how we've done this session. That includes Alex in Washington. We always got to remember that y'all approved our decision, I guess 2 years ago, to hire a reporter based in Washington, D.C. And that has just really added so much to what we do every day, because she's up there working in the halls of the Capitol. She's interviewing our delegation. It's so much fun. I got some feedback from Senator Britt the other day. She's like, "Alex is everywhere. She knows all of my secret ways to get back to my office." Because as you know, in the Capitol, you can take different tunnels and things like that. And so Senator Britt was saying that Alex had figured out her little secret ways to get back so she could be there with a camera. And I think that's really cool. I mean, there's not a lot of, I don't think many at all, local, public television stations that have a reporter based in Washington, D.C. That was a vision of ours. Wayne and I went up there and hired her and got her, and so it's a real treat. So every week we're bringing back really the only channel bringing back, dedicated specifically to our delegation, telling our people what they're doing. So I'm really proud of that. We have a list of guests in your packets. I always like to include that because it kind of gives you an example of who all we've talked to this session. We try to have, like I said, a cross-section of a diverse group, leaders, sometimes rank and file, sometimes new members. We had some kind of interesting guests this time. I got to interview Nick Saban. That was a treat. Well, excuse me, Nick and Terry Saban. She really had the lion's share of the interview. Also got to interview Bruce Pearl for a bit of balance there. But you can see all of the interviews there. Also included in the packet are some designs that we got from our designer, I don't know if you call it architect or whatever, for the new State House studio. So you can see kind of the rendering from a bird's eye view. It might not make much sense, but when you see how the set is designed, I think you'll agree it's pretty impressive. We're really, really excited about that. It's going to, so the current State House is about to be torn down. We're in the process of moving out. We're going to be in this building for a matter of months as we, are in transition. But we're really super excited about the new State House. It's going to give us so much flexibility and so much more capacity to not just do Capitol Journal, but to do other shows and to contribute. You'll see that there's a green screen space in kind of the corner of the studio. I'm excited about that because, we are a public service agency. Our mission is public service. That green screen space will allow allow lawmakers to come downstairs, do an interview, and we can send that to their station of choice. So it's not just APT. We can allow them to communicate to others. I think that adds value to what we do every day. I'll also add that we have, we're kind of been talking, it's a very beginning kind of conversation because if you tune into the legislature right now, the feed is not always the best. And it's kind of new. I mean, going back to when I worked there, they didn't even have a video feed. So these things are kind of new, and obviously the building is really old. Well, this new State House, there are going to be more capabilities for live streaming. Every committee room will be live streamed, obviously the House and the Senate. We could probably play a role in that. And that's something that I want to talk more with Wayne and Daniel about. But they're excited about having us in the building. They didn't have to do this. The legislature, they allowed APT in the State House, I think it was 2015, isn't that right, Mike? 2015, they allowed APT to rent a space in the State House. Well, we've been very fortunate about that because it's right where everything happens and we like being there. They didn't have to put us in the new State House, so we're grateful for that and we want to live up to that responsibility to really use the space very well. So part of that is I want to emphasize how important it is that we get that space up and going by the time the legislature convenes in January. It would be very disappointing for them, having put us in the new building, having funded us and everything, and Jack can speak to more of that, to not have us ready and going, when they come back in, because that's going to be an exciting time. And it would be embarrassing for us. So that's going to be a real goal of ours. The building is on schedule. Yeah, the building is absolutely on schedule. And y'all will be able to see the space when we tour it here at 2 o'clock. 2 shout outs, as always, to Heather and her digital team. We're still taking baby steps, getting some of our content out there, but they've been amazing. The spike in viewership just for State of the State based on what digital was able to do was amazing. And also shout out to Tiffany for an amazing Young Heroes program. I don't want to get ahead of you, but we aired that last Friday, and I've gotten so much feedback about that. So just a terrific opportunity, and thank you for letting us be a part of it. Anyway, I'll happy to answer any questions, but
Sure, Todd, what, on the topic of PBS, what feedback have you received from legislators regarding this disaffiliation discussion? And how do you think they'll respond to what we've just done today?
On the, just like the basic idea of, well, I guess there's the, when it first came up, I can't remember what month that was, there were just a lot of questions, like, is this really gonna happen, and what, why, and what's the point? And somebody mentioned Danny Garrett, like, you know, there are people, I would say lawmakers are, you know, pretty interested in the show, and it's that most of that's Jack, but I do see them all the time, and they do come up to me. So there's a lot of curiosity and a lot of questions like why would they do this? And I mean, it's not my place to speak for the commission or anything like that, but I would always kind of say, well, they're just talking, you know, it's not, don't worry, because there was concern, right? There was concern. So that's more the theoretical. The practical, though, was very concerning, because as I guess, I haven't read the report, but I heard her talk about a drop in viewership. So let's just say that had happened, and the resulting drop in viewership, drastic drop in viewership, would have made us kind of obsolete. Like, they want us in the building because we reach an audience. They're not interested in having a YouTube channel. And so it would have probably hurt our standing. And so I think they were grateful and encouraged to learn that it wasn't going to happen. Of course, I didn't know all this was going on still today, but I've heard nothing but positive feedback, but based on the fact that we were not going to disaffiliate. So I was, yeah, they were all happy. Jack can probably speak more to that. Say, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman?
Because we were short 2.6 million, they thought we were going to go ask them for another 2.6 million. But anyway, that's what I was hearing. So we didn't have to do that. Jack had got our budget. So.
Anyway, thank y'all.
Thanks, Todd. Oh, Jack?
We had let's talk about what's going on nationally. As we all know, last year, there was, our federal funding was cut. We lost $2.8 million. And it made things very tough. I was in Washington enough last year that the hotel staff knows me when I walk in the door. And I don't see that there's efforts being made. Ready to Learn and the Ready to Learn grant and funding through the Homeland Security part of appropriations is in the budget this year. It's yet to be determined if the administration will release those funds. We received a $530,000 grant in 2024 that the administration has refused to release. So, and we've been working with our congressional delegation to deal with that issue. At the state level, we received a 1.54% increase. Our appropriation this year, starting in September, or in October rather, will be $10,854,000 and some odd dollars after that. We also, as Todd alluded to, we received another $2 million to complete the State House studio, and that money will be made available. It was in a supplemental appropriation, so we'll be getting that money sometime between now and the 1st of October. Over the last 6 years, we have received about $24 million in additional appropriations above our budget for equipment. As most of you guys were on the board when our budget was drastically cut in 2013. And when I arrived in 2020, I worked with Phil and with Wendell and Dan Don and others, Mike was involved in these conversations over what some of we had some really serious capital needs. We were literally buying parts off of eBay to fix equipment because our equipment was 2 and 3 generations out of date. And we had some equipment that the manufacturer was bringing in, had to bring in retired employees to repair our equipment because their folks didn't know what was, the new people had never seen the stuff, it was so old. And I think with the opening of the new State House studio, that we'll be completely up to date. And we've worked on getting up to date in the NOC as well, in Birmingham as well. And I think we've done a really good job there. And I have, back, Pete, to your question of Todd, I'm asked that regularly by members of the legislature. And I don't think I have any member of the legislature who comes to me that loves everything that we broadcast. I don't love everything we broadcast, but they love the value that we bring to this state. And I didn't put this in the email, but the conversation I had with the legislator last week who initiated a call to me that I emailed all of you about, just he referenced NewsHour and said, look, there's things on there I don't like. He said, I think it's gotten better. He said, I even think NPR's gotten a little bit better. And a lot of that's been from the pushing that Wayne and I have done. But he said, if I don't like it, I turn the television off. I don't watch it. And so we are having those discussions about our programming. And I will say that next month at the PBS conference, we're meeting, last year at the PBS conference, in a meeting that was initiated by APT, we had a meeting with the executive producer of NewsHour. And we have seen some changes since that time. This year, we have a dinner with several general managers across the country. We got a 1.5, last year we got a 5% increase in our funding. Across the country, state funding went down 9%. So now most states got an increase, but that's of the states who get money. But one state was totally defunded and 2 other states got significant cuts. But we're seeing, we're going against the trend. When I got here, probably 80% of the folks in the legislature I had served with, they've been through an election and we're going through another one, and it'll probably be a much smaller percentage. But I spoke to one of our new members in the last couple of weeks of the session, and she told me that she was a homeschool mom and how much she valued Alabama Public Television. So we have some I don't think we're ever going to see APT nor PBS perfect in their programming, but we do a lot of good, and our legislature recognizes that and acknowledges it. And I think one of the things that's a key to that is when Wayne is with me or Todd is doing his thing, when we talk about what APT is doing, we talk about the great things that we do. And when we want to deal with the problems that we're having, we're talking to the folks that can impact those problems. And I don't think our legislature wants to impact PBS programming from the standpoint of being involved in that process. That's what they expect me to do. And Wayne and I are pushing back, not pushing back, but we're finding ways to what you were talking about, William, of enhancing programming in ways that gives broader viewpoints and greater diversity of thought. And I think we're being successful, and we'll have some proposals that we're presenting to some other GMs next month that hopefully we'll get a little traction on. If we do, we'll come back with a report in the summer. And I think that's, anything else y'all need from me? Any questions on me? Basketball was a huge success. We've got some changes coming in our sports program. The High School Athletic Association has been 7 classifications, public and private combined. They've reduced the public schools to 6. They've separated the public and private schools. There'll now be 6 public championships. There'll be and 2 private school championships, and I only look for that to grow. So we're moving this year. We historically have carried 9 games. We'll be moving to 12 games next December over 5 days in Mobile. I honestly look for that to expand to 14 at some point. And basketball, we're going from 14 championship games, boys and girls, to 16. And I look for that probably in a couple of years to advance that, to bounce up to 18. So we're in regular communication with them, still in regular communication with our congressional delegation. I'll be back up there next month as well. And we're looking at some other possibilities of ways that funds can be directed toward APT.
Jack, I had a question for you. If you don't mind, who was the legislator that you spoke to that she homeschools her children?
Representative Nelson from newly elected.
Kristen Nelson from
Kristen
Chambers
Nelson,
County.
yes, yes.
You know, that's interesting. I wouldn't mind possibly having her come and speak to the commission sometime about the positive impact that APTV has had on her and her family. I think that would be insightful and informative. So.
I'd be happy to work with the chairman and the executive director to arrange that. So,
you mentioned me. I for one point of clarification for everybody in the room, it is not my proposal that we ever cut ties with PBS. Right now, we get 90% of our programming from them. But I would like to see in 5 years that we reduce our dependency to around about 40%. So, but we need to have a roadmap forward on how we're going to do that. And hopefully the next meeting, I'll present a phased approach to that. Nobody should rely 90% on one vendor for anything. That puts us in a very, serious situation should something happen to PBS. So once again, for everybody here, I'm not proposing that we ever cut ties. So for your, tomorrow, whatever with PBS, I'm with you on that. We just don't need to be 100% dependent, 90%. That's just too much. So I can present a phased approach that, we can look at and we can start now. It's going to take 5 years, but when we get there, we're not as dependent on PBS, but we still got PBS, but we just maybe supplement it with some of our programming based off this survey as a start. That's all I'm proposing. And I think cutting 100% ties, you're right, we'll lose a lot of viewers, we'll lose a lot of donors. We shouldn't ever do that. That's not the right approach. So I just want to make sure everybody here knows that's my position. I think cutting them out completely is the wrong move. That's all.
well, I referenced you because you said you had referenced enhancing
Yes.
the opportunities.
That's what I think should be the approach.
That's part of the discussion I'll be having with some of Wayne's peers next month in Austin.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Jack. All right, next, Daniel, engineering and operations.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
First off, I'd like to just brag on my staff for a minute, if I could. Most television stations in a DMA have one station, one transmitter, one tower, and a handful of engineers to keep them going. We have 9 full-power transmitter sites across the state. We have 18 microwave hops. And then, of course, our network operations center in Birmingham, and then Todd and his Capital Journal staff here in Montgomery to support infrastructure-wise. I'm really proud of the staff I have. They keep us going. I've got a good group of guys, and I can't say enough about them. We just had a retirement party on March 31st for Sandy Boyd, who was with us for over 40 years. and he was the best field engineer we've ever had here at APT, as far as I know. But he was fantastic. He trained up the guys that are left on staff, and we're going to miss him tremendously. But Tyler Bess is our deputy director now, under myself, and I fully trust him, and he's going to do a good job of training new staff that we have coming in, and the guys already there are up to speed as well. But they do a good job, our IT team. I've got a good group of guys. With that being said, we do have 2 openings in engineering, one here in Montgomery and one in Mobile. So if you guys know of anybody interested in a broadcast engineering position, please steer them my way. No, Jack, not you. But we've got a lot of projects going on. As Todd mentioned, the State House, we're looking at getting it going. We've, I think, mentioned last board meeting that we do have a contract in place with SS&A here, Montgomery, who's in talks with the RSA, who's building it out. And that's getting kicked off really soon. You guys have seen the studio design, the preliminary design's beautiful. But we're going to be doing that in SMPTE 2110, which is all network cables connecting everything. Less audio video cables and all network cables. We're getting that kicked off. As Todd mentioned, we've got to relocate Capital Journal guys here to Madison temporarily. They're getting kicked out of the current State House in July. We'll relocate them here while the new build is going on, and then moving back over there with all new gear. To get that going, we've got to relight the Scholar Bowl studio downstairs. We've got to get a new lighting grid, new LED lights to support both Scholar Bowl and Capital Journal. So that's in the works with SS&A as well. And then WJIQ, Winfield, Fayette County. Lamar County. It's actually Fayette County, but so that will be our 10th transmitter site in the state. We're looking at completing that by September 30th, fingers crossed. We're in the building design phase right now. Tower has been designed. It needs to be fabricated, and foundation poured for it. Yeah, you can change. Sorry. So we've recently implemented a new ticket trouble system by our IT department internally for anyone that has IT trouble. We have a ticketing system with that now. We've renewed our agreement with Thompson Power to service all of our generators statewide. We've got one new HVAC unit installed for the NOC. The other 2 are on their way to keep all of our broadcast gear nice and cold in our network operations center. And we're also in the process of upgrading our network switches and IT infrastructure in the NOC. That's coming along. As Jack was mentioning earlier, a lot of equipment was, when I got here, getting old and outdated, end of life. Some manufacturers aren't even in business anymore. So we're consolidating that all under one Cisco as a manufacturer, but we're getting all new network switches and getting new stuff at the NOC as well as the transmitter sites, and all that will tie together and talk to one another, and that will be a huge leap in technology progression for us. I think that's about it. Any questions? Yes, sir.
3 questions.
Yes, sir.
Number 1, do you know the footprint of our tower near Valley, Alabama, into Georgia?
That'd be Texasville, Louisville, Texasville, WGIQ?
I don't know. It's 85 crosses state line. That's where Valley is.
That's got to be Texasville. I do. I can get that to you.
Okay. The reason I ask is for fundraising. That's a like a technological hub, and it's become a big population center. I know Noonan's grown out of the, so that might be something we don't look into because it's across state lines, but that, like Phoenix City and Columbus, it's just like one community there. And anyway, so that might be worth looking into. Second question is, with all the upgrades we have, I know we used to lease tower space. Do we still lease tower space to others?
We do. FBI being one on the national level, and then we still do with NOAA for their weather radio transmitters, but yes, we do lease tower space.
Okay, I thought we did. So do we have bandwidth availability statewide, point to point? In other words, are we using all of our bandwidth, or do we have bandwidth availability?
As far as
The capacity of our network to carry traffic in bits.
We're at capacity. On our microwave system, we're at capacity. Yes, sir.
And what about the, originally the backup system, but now the main system?
So all of our transmitter sites are fed over fiber. We're using microwave as backup, but also there are other agencies who ride that microwave to get their telemetry back as well, such as Forestry and ALEA, and those are at capacity.
And we serve as the backup for the Homeland Security, whatever that's called in Alabama. Okay. And then, so we really don't have an opportunity to lease out bandwidth, is what you're telling me?
Not over, they would have to, they could lease tower space from us, but they would, whoever the agency is, would have to provide their own means of getting their
Emitting and catching.
telemetry back.
Yeah, the reason I ask is you may remember the telephone company right outside of Huntsville, Arab, I think, McDonald, years ago, and it became a big deal. And that was, he leased bandwidth at night to the banks that would, close out at the end of the day, and they had huge bandwidth needs. And so he was able to buy bandwidth from the carriers and then resell it and package it to the big banks in the area, which now I know a lot of that's nationalized. My thought is that at one point bandwidth was valuable. I don't know how much it is now with all the other alternatives.
Now it's vertical real estate, it's tower space.
Yeah. So, okay, well, thank you. You answered all my questions. I appreciate it. So you're going to find out about the footprint?
I will, I'll send it to you.
And the new tower, sorry, fourth question. The new tower, is it in a heavily populated area? I recall that being very rural.
It's going to cover Lamar, Fayette really well, which is, Lamar's the last county in the state we don't currently cover very well.
Right.
And it will bleed over into Mississippi as well, and I'm not sure the population of Mississippi it will pick up. But Jack, didn't you have the numbers at one time of how many in Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, and Mississippi?
And this was based off 2010
numbers,
populations, but our over-the-air signal reached 3.5 million people outside the state of Alabama. We reached about 8.5 million people. If we were now this is excluding every other statewide network, but if we were a television market, we would fall between Chicago and Dallas-Fort Worth.
Okay. And that 3.5 million, other than at Valley, is there a population concentration there, or are they basically more spread out?
Our signal goes into Mississippi, Tennessee, it goes almost to Atlanta, almost to Nashville, almost to Atlanta. And then, as a matter of fact, and this hasn't been mentioned yet, the Florida Pensacola station is dropping PBS on June 30th, and we will become the carrier, the PBS carrier for Northwest Florida. And we anticipate growth there in membership and in hopefully in underwriting opportunities.
So see, that's
because we're a hyphenated market.
Well, that's what I was just bringing to you, that those markets are, I don't know that we market to them, and the bleed over markets, and I'm just saying we probably should because of those different changes and the coverage.
Do, like in Pensacola, they carry Pensacola PBS. And we'll be able to carry us. With that switch, we will be in the Pensacola market as well.
Gotcha.
And it's because that market is hyphenated into one market.
And that's pretty dense in that part of
ICN
Hannah.
membership.
Jack, did you say there's already a bit of a trend?
Yes,
Melissa, I think, do you have anything on that?
I will, but
Okay,
not
all right, it's coming. Stay tuned.
Let me say something, for somebody who's been producing in that studio, the small studio downstairs for 7 years, the Scholars Bowl show, which we've given away over $3 million in scholarship money through that show in 7 years, which has been just tremendous. It's been, we blew in 4 days of shooting, we blew 7 bulbs last year, so getting the lighting in there, I am thrilled about that, thrilled out of my mind.
It's coming.
So,
Yeah.
I can't wait for
Yeah.
October, so thank y'all for doing that.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Daniel.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Daniel.
Sure.
All right, next, from our multi-platform content team, we have Heather Daniels-Whitson.
Okay, hello. Well, funny enough, I have a story about Pensacola viewer watching Alabama Public Television that was not originally what I was going to talk about, but I got an email through the staff contact on our website from a gentleman that I worked with many years ago in Virginia, and last I knew he had moved to Portland, but he was in Pensacola. They had moved, his wife's mother was ill, and so they had moved to do some care. And he sent me an email and said, hey, I was watching Alabama Public Television and I saw this show Garden Party, and then I saw your name all over the credits. So it was very nice to get that. So we're already available in Pensacola, unless I'm sure you know, whenever I'm in Baldwin County at my in-laws in Fairhope, I will see both APT and the Pensacola station available to choose. So, and that's the crossover market that you were referring to, Wayne. All right, so back to the planned presentation. We are the multi-platform content team. We are creating content for all of Alabama Public Television's platforms, from our traditional broadcast signal to all of the different ways that we can reach people digitally, and also our social media. And so I'm going to report kind of across all of those platforms. One of the things that we are working on, as everyone knows, is the America 250 anniversary. It's this year. I'm sure you've heard about it. And we have been producing 75 one-minute spots, which is 75 minutes of programming. So we have so far created 37 of those vignettes that are complete and gone to air. We have 28 spots in post-production and 10 spots in the scripting phase. We are looking to have this completed before the next meeting. So we'll have all 75 at that point. We will also build them out a little home on the Alabama Public Television website once we kind of have them all done. And I have brought 2 of the vignettes for us to view today. So without further ado, hopefully the audio is up on Melissa's computer and we can watch it.
Why did the youngest founding father oppose independence? Rutledge is famous for being the youngest signer of the Declaration of Independence. He was only 27, but not everyone supported national independence, and Rutledge was one of them. He was the delegation leader of South Carolina, and while he knew independence was coming, his colony had adopted their own constitution. He thought the colony should first become a confederation with strong foreign alliances before taking on Britain. So when it came time to vote for independence on July 1st, South Carolina said no, but they were outnumbered. It seemed independence would win no matter what. So Rutledge asked for a revote the next day. Between the first vote and the second, Rutledge convinced all of the South Carolina delegates to change their minds for the sake of consensus. And they did. History remembers Rutledge as a persuasive orator, successful attorney, and respected governor.
Who fired the shot heard round the world? The shot heard round the world refers to the first armed conflict of the American Revolution, the Battle of Lexington and Concord. On the morning of April 19, 1775, neither the British Army nor the American militiamen expected to fight. But once the two forces met in Lexington, one of the biggest mysteries in American history occurred. A shot was fired. But no one interviewed on either side had a clear story about who actually shot first. Both sides blamed the other. Some speculate that a spectator behind the wall of a nearby tavern is to blame. We may never know who fired first, but we do know what came next. A bloody battle was fought along the road to Concord, igniting the fight for American independence.
I'm Trey.
So those are two examples of the 75 spots that we are creating for America's 250. And as you can kind of get a sense of, the approach is to kind of start with an interesting fact or question and then spend 55 seconds exploring that fact or question. You can't obviously do an entire history lesson in 55 seconds. So we're just doing literally one moment of history in our moments. Moving back on to Garden Party with Trace Barnett, which is my second content highlight. This is a program that we started on our social platforms 4 years ago, redeveloped for YouTube audience, and have now brought to broadcast. So I think this is a really great example of the multi-platform content team and what we can create to make sure that people are connecting with the Alabama television brand everywhere that they consume content in 2026. When we just this March 19th was when we broadcast our first one, and it was instantly a top 25 viewed APT local program in this last quarter, and it only came in towards the end of the quarter. We reached 42,000 people across all of our social platforms, and additionally, our digital reach on YouTube was almost 462,000 views with 1.1 thousand hours of content watched. And I want to emphasize that that is only January through March. That is not lifetime. Those are numbers for the quarter. And I have what I think is a fun little promo for the series. And so I'll let Melissa hit that.
I'm Trace Barnett, and welcome to Garden Party, a show where we dive into my favorite family recipes, garden tips and tricks, and Alabama specialties, all with a swanky Southern twist. Gonna quack? Oh, she's gonna lay down. Watch Garden Party Thursdays at 8 p.m. and Saturdays at 1:30 or anytime online.
Next slide. So that was just a little bit of Garden Party. Like I said, our new season premiered on March 19th. We had 4 spring episodes, including an hour-long Easter special in which we made Easter dinner, as well as decorated the table. We featured the butcher from Son of a Butcher, a butcher shop in Birmingham. He came on as our ham expert. And I don't think anyone has ever said ham as many times as we said while making this Easter special. We are returning on May 21st with our new summer episodes. We just got back last week. We spent some time in Bayou La Battery on a shrimping boat talking to some Alabama fishermen that are out there in the Gulf catching our Gulf seafood for us. We also filmed our host possibly in some fun outfits in the middle of Gulf Shores on the beach. And I want to tell you, this trip that we took was worth like $50,000 in marketing. Everyone was asking us what we were filming. Everyone wanted to tune in. We had a date to tell them, so everyone was very, very excited to tune in on June 4th for this episode. I think we got a lot of free marketing out of being out there in the Alabama, in the community, which is what we love to do. Jeffrey's Southern Ghosts is another content that I wanted to highlight. We premiered episode 101, The Phantom Steamboat of the Tom Bigby. That came out first on digital in December. We premiered on broadcast on February 12th, and we are currently working on our second episode, which will be premiering May 14th. And this is the ghost story, The Spectre in the Maze. And one of the things that's really great about this ghost story is that we spent a couple days at the Alabama's first state capital, Old Cahaba, filming with them. In addition to hearing this ghost story by our famed folklorist Catherine Tucker Wyndham, we are also exploring some of the history of our first capital, Old Cahaba, and with a little bit of archaeology mixed in too, since it is now a state archaeological park. So I'm very excited about this episode. We just locked the script, and it's coming, I think, on all platforms on May 14th is the plan. So it'll go everywhere all at once. Next slide. We also run all of our education media through my department. So we are working on 2 20-minute digital episodes called Revolutionary. These are premiering on PBS Learning Media platform as well as PBS Learning Media's YouTube. So this is a partnership with PBS. And we're very excited about season 4 of DIY Science Time, which we've teased a couple of times at this meeting. So the only real update I'll give is that we have national distribution through NETA and that we filmed all of our Alabama locations, which you can see listed there. And we've started Yellowhammer Nature Hunt, which will be the Earth Science Standards content. It'll go along with our Yellowhammer History Hunt that we created years ago. We've had 4 meetings with the most enthusiastic group. I can see Tiffany laughing. The most enthusiastic group of education advisor panel I have ever had. I love them. They are very, very passionate about these science topics. We have a great lead teacher who is a 7th grade science teacher that is making sure that we are touching on all the standards. And so we will be completing that, 6 episodes of that. We'll be start working on that as soon as we are done with the 75 vignettes. And I think I have just a couple more. Yeah, I won't read all this, but we continue to reach more and more people through all of our digital platforms, through consistent publishing. And so our reach is up across the board. And I just want to highlight specifically the 450% increase year over year on the quarter on views on our YouTube channel. So we are definitely connecting with more and more Alabamians through these different platforms. And another thing to note, which is not actually written here, is that our demographics for our social media and our YouTube is a younger demographic than the audience that is watching on television. So this is how to reach more and more people. So there are definitely people that are watching broadcast, and then there are people watching us maybe only on YouTube. And so now we are getting, our brand onto these platforms that people are watching. YouTube is the #1 most watched platform across the board. Tiffany and team always knocking it out of the park with their education professional development, and we've been having a lot of success in driving web traffic to there so that people know that APT offers these things. You talked about basketball earlier. We got 240,000 views for basketball programming on YouTube TV and Hulu OTT live stream alone, in addition to the broadcast numbers that we talked about earlier. Oh, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead. Is our YouTube monetized?
Yes, it is. The YouTube is monetized.
What is the average?
Well, it's been growing steadily, and the last month I believe was $2,000. So it's not a ton of money, but we just monetized it in August. So it's a new venture for us to have it monetized.
And it's different than regular monetization too because of PBS.
And so it's actually monetized through the PBS multi-channel network. And what that does is that allows all of the different member stations to kind of get a leg up on the algorithm. So if somebody watches, like a documentary from Mississippi Public Television, and the YouTube algorithm will recognize that they're part of PBS, and then we're part of PBS, and they'll be like, oh, well, if you watch that, you might be interested in this Alabama documentary that's also from, from the Southeast region. We had a couple of things really take off. We had a profile on the welder at Sloss Furnaces, did really well for us, and then the Shuttlesworth documentary that we made a number of years ago just found a new life on digital as well, and that has it jumped from not very many views to like over 150,000 in a matter of 6 weeks. So that has also just taken off. I think I have one last slide. Yeah. Just want to talk a little bit more about digital reach. For on-demand streaming for PBS and APT platforms, these are numbers that are all local to Alabama. These are not national numbers, so these are Alabamians watching these things. The PBS Kids continues to see a lot of streams. So this is 12.2 million on-demand streams. So this is how a lot of people consume content now. You go in, you open your PBS Kids app, you say, my kid wants to watch Daniel Tiger, you hit Daniel Tiger, you can watch Daniel Tiger anytime. And then the general audience streaming, this is also on-demand streaming, again, of Alabamians. So All Creatures Great and Small came out as the top program. We got 700,000 streams there. And then PBS Learning Media, this is our content for K through 12 education. DIY Science Time is our signature program and also always our top local stream program when I pull these stats, but we got almost 600,000 streams of that content by teachers in Alabama in the quarter.
Okay, next with programming and public information, Mike McKenzie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all for being here. We had an exciting first quarter calendar year. Capital Journal, Todd already talked about. Muscle Shoals to Music Row, we are working again with Big River Broadcasting up in the Shoals to bring some great musicians to our Thursday nights every week starting in February. We heard about Jeffrey Southern Ghosts. Tuxedo Junction, you saw in the numbers there. Tuxedo Junction, The Almost Lost Story, was an independent film that I talked the producers into sharing with us, and it's just been going gangbusters on our social, as well as getting great viewership. Spotlight on Agriculture Master Gardeners was also in February, looking at what the Master Gardeners across Alabama do. And Garden Party, the spring edition. We had new seasons of, or continuing seasons of Alabama Gospel Roots, Alabama Career Connection, which looks at various jobs available through the state of Alabama. Alabama Scholars Bowl, which Mike mentioned a while ago, hosted by Mike Royer. And that we get so many calls from parents, especially about that. How can I watch that online? They're all online. We digitize everything. And of course, the high school basketball championships, March 5th through 7th, brought us some tremendous viewership as well. Nationally, All Creatures Great and Small, you saw in Heather's numbers, is the #1 most streamed program. It's the top of our viewing over the air as well. Miss Scarlet also had a new season. We had the Forsyths, the Count of Monte Cristo, come to us in March. Beyond that, new seasons of Antiques Roadshow, Finding Your Roots, Nature, Nova. Some of the great programming on nature was on elephants, killer whales, and a 5-part series on animal parenthood. Nova looked at Angkor Wat, and I had to send that to my middle son because he's been there. And the program on Angkor Wat and how this place, 1,000 years ago, was as big as Denver in the wet rice fields, and how they engineered everything was absolutely amazing. I hear so much from Nova is the most used program in American schools because of the kind of content that parents can find there and teachers can find there, and all the different resources they provide, teaching and learning materials. They also touched on Can Dogs Talk and a Stone Age temple in Turkey that has all kinds of questions about how civilizations got started, because these were hunter-gatherers on the plains of Turkey who put together incredible temples way before anybody else did, at least that we found before. Why and how, and great insights into their lives. Travels with Darley, I'd like to point out, Darley is a national series. I think she's now 14 seasons old, and this is her 3rd trip to do 2 episodes in Alabama. This year she did a North Alabama road trip, taking in places like the Space and Rocket Center, as you might imagine, and the unclaimed baggage as well, and also a piece on accessible North Alabama specifically. And I think North Alabama Tourism just won a huge award for what they do on accessibility. So it was great to have that out on national television and here as well. We also replayed her Alabama Food Trail episodes in the month. We had American Masters look at Birmingham native Sun Ra and his incredible impact on music. I'm the father of 4, raised all my kids on PBS. I'm now raising a granddaughter and I've got a grandson watching PBS as well. Phoebe and Jay really caught my eye at the PBS meeting when they showed it off to us. It's a literacy-focused animated series that creates a variety of texts that preschools encounter on a day-to-day basis. Are you going to talk about this?
No, you're good.
Oh, good. I'm glad I'm not. So that, you know, how to read signs, things like that. I remember the first sign my oldest son identified was McDonald's, but because we drove by it every day, we did not eat there a lot. But anyway, Phoebe and Jay is a great new series that was just launched. We also have the new Weather Hunters with Al Roker that premiered back in September. That's doing great guns, as well as all the other content. My 3-year-old particularly likes Daniel Tiger and Arthur episodes and Curious George, but she gets a lot out of all that we do. And PBS Kids is one of her first full sentences. PBS Kids. Coming up, well, let me just really quick hit our Easter special programming. We did the garden party special with ham and fixings and everything else that Heather talked about. We did Rick Steves' European Easter. And we brought back a film that we've done a number of times, the 1925 silent film Ben-Hur, which was the most expensive silent film ever made. And it was also the biggest moneymaker for MGM until the junior director made the new version of Ben-Hur in the 50s. So we aired all those, did a number of airings of Ben-Hur, but we did all those for Easter. We have got a fantastic new program. I was a scout leader for 23 years. I've been on trails all across the state. And of course, we've all enjoyed Dr. Doug Phillips' programs for 30, 40 years now. But there's a new program coming to us from Longleaf Studios and the folks at JSU called Blaze, the Trails of Alabama, that just, I took a look at it, and you know, no matter how many trails you've been on, this program makes you say, golly, I am so lucky to live in this state. And we've got a sample of that to watch right now.
How do you get to know a place like Alabama? Because it's incredibly full of surprises, the whole state. It's like waking up and discovering your best friend that you played with is suddenly a billionaire.
I think everyone should have the opportunity to experience the outdoors and fall in love with it.
Not many states can claim they have not only the Appalachian Mountains, but the Gulf Coast.
Our blueways are a flagship of the entire country. This is something that people wish they could have in their backyards like we do have here in Alabama.
If we could just get out and get away and surround ourselves with silence, it's amazing what that does for your attitude and your outlook and your approach to the next week, to your life, to your family.
If you don't maintain these trails, roots grow up underneath, and if you don't repave, it becomes impassable. So this is a forever project.
More than a desire for career advancement or increase in salary, that tech talent audience frequently lists outdoor recreation and proximity to the outdoors as #1 reason they locate to a given geography.
And those trails will call and they'll say, come and explore Alabama's amazing biodiversity, reconnect with nature, and understand what it really means to live in this beautiful state.
So hiking, running, biking, canoeing, horseback riding, so many different great trails throughout the state. And, you know, one of the great things about this is through the PBS app, we can share this story all across the country. You know, economic development can point people to this show, as well as tourism, and say, this is a great place to be here in Alabama. Coming up in May, we've got...
You mentioned Thursday?
What's that? Oh, it's premieres on Thursday, and we've got a special event on Thursday at Sloss Furnaces Visitor Center. We'd love to have any of you that are up in the Birmingham area or anywhere around the state come for that. That'll be at 5 o'clock, and then the broadcast premiere will be at 8 p.m., and we'll be sharing that later in the week as well.
Most important, free beer and pizza.
Also, we've just broadcast, and we're going to broadcast again when the Alabama State Games come around, a biography on Ron Creel, the Alabama businessman who founded the state games. We've got Jamie Johnson and friends coming to us on April 25th. We mentioned Jeffrey's Southern Ghosts earlier. A new season of Buzz in Birmingham. Buzz is produced by a guy who came from Birmingham. He's a Birmingham Southern graduate. Went to Virginia, started this series in Virginia, and then brought it back to us here in Alabama. And he focuses on nonprofit groups and corporate support that helps them continue their mission. That'll include in the new season the Hank Poor Foundation, Respite and Grace, and the Addiction Prevention Coalition Group. This is we can go to the next. I'm sorry. Garden Party Summer is coming up, and actually the beach episode is going to appear during our June pledge drive. So we'll be talking with Trace for that.
Mike, if I could jump in.
Yeah.
Real quick, so that I forgot to mention that May 21st episode is going to be about one of the most controversial things in Alabama. Barbecue sauce.
Ooh, who's got the best?
We are breaking down different kinds of barbecue sauce, and we do go up to Big Bob Gibson's indicator in that episode as well. Not football, but barbecue sauce.
But barbecue sauce. Also coming up, Higher Education Matters from Todd Stacy and his group. We'll have a new episode of Discovering Alabama from Dr. Doug Phillips. We're going to be carrying the Alabama Independence Day celebration live from American Village. You want to say anything more, Wayne, or just give it a cheer?
Fireworks. With fireworks.
Blind Boys of Alabama will be among the big stars featured in that celebration. I'm also working with the producers at Alabama Arts for the celebration of Alabama Arts coming in 2026. They're honoring all those folks in May, including Eric Essex, Scott Wright, Ralph Fosen, Gary Waldrop, Debbie Bond, Gary Chapman, and George Culver as an arts administrator and producer. So we're looking forward to that. Spotlight on Agriculture is bringing us pollinators. I understand they've just been down on the Gulf Coast with a fellow with 5 million bees. And those pollinators make all of our agriculture possible. And of course, we'll be back to AHSAA football in August as well. Heather mentioned DIY science, which I don't have here, but I'm just going to echo again that goes to at least 20 other public broadcasters around the country and is available on the app and on PBS Learning Media so that educators everywhere in the country can take advantage of all the great work that they do in our multimedia production department. National programming, the American Revolution starts again this week and continues through May. Ken Burns' series, just a fascinating look at the deep stories behind our American Revolution. In May, we're celebrating Sir David Attenborough's 100th birthday. He is still doing productions for BBC and PBS, and we'll have a special program looking back at his series Life on Earth, which really changed the way nature filmmaking is done and inspired our own series, Nature, and countless others. Downton Abbey is back in May, celebrating its 15th year since it first broadcast and mesmerized everybody. We'll have a National Memorial Day concert back in 2026, again with Joe Mantegna and Gary Sinise. hosting that. That's always one of the most watched programs, PBS programs of the year, as they share stories of our veterans who gave their lives for our country. Another special new show that's national but has Alabama impact that day is called Rona Classified. And most people have never heard about this, but the Rona was a World War II transport ship in the Mediterranean that was hit by one of the first guided missiles in history from a German bomber. As the men on board, the survivors testify, those lifeboats were rusted into place when they got on board that ship. Over 1,000 engineers from particularly Tennessee and Alabama went down with that ship, and the survivors were told never to talk about it. It was swept under the rug, but the memorial for those 1,015 soldiers is down in Seal, Alabama at the National Cemetery there. So it's an interesting program looking at the technology and the tragedy of that. Coming up in the summer, we've got two big Masterpiece series coming back, Patience and Grantchester. We've got the Kimberley, Australia's Wild West. Australia, remember, is where APT engineers went 60 years ago and figured out how to make the first educational television network in history here in the state of Alabama. PBS is doing the Summer of Space as its big theme. There's a new series called Once Upon a Time in Space done by BBC and PBS, exploring the human stories behind the International Space Station. If you didn't see it, there was an absolutely fantastic two-part NOVA series on the ISS back in November. It's available on the PBS app. This, again, looks at interviews with astronauts, scientists, engineers, and private space travelers documenting the challenges of living and working in space. And there's a great back and forth scene between an American astronaut and a Russian cosmonaut who talk about their life stories, backgrounds, and how it prepared them when a Mir that had docked with the space station's retro rockets put the station into a spin that could very quickly put them out of orbit and crashing to Earth. And they go back and forth on two different ends of the space station, thinking up, here's how I would do this, here's how I would do that, equal action, reaction, and fire the right retros to slow the station down and keep them up there. We don't think a lot about the International Space Station, but it's a dramatic place to live all the time. We'll also be repeating the great American Experience series, Chasing the Moon, which looked at the history of the Apollo mission that preceded the Artemis mission. Where am I? Oh, and finally, also celebrating America's 250th, I met Sean of the South several years ago at an event he was doing for us, and he does some just spectacular stories and pieces of music on his YouTube. And I said, Sean, can you do me something about the American Revolution? And he said, I would be delighted to. I love PBS and you all, and I support you all so much. And so this is what he left us to celebrate.
I have a song for you that predates the Revolutionary War. This is a song that was brought to this soil by British troops in their fife and drum corps. And then it was loved so much by Continental soldiers that they just simply stole it. And they made it an American song. And it has become the quintessential American song. It is actually the longest song played by the U.S. military in our songbook. It has been played throughout every battle and every military configuration throughout the history of this country. What a better sentiment than singing a song about leaving home as a soldier and thinking about the girl you left behind you. This song would have been played by the pipes and the drummers to help the soldiers keep march, but it would have also been played in the camps by the fiddlers who carried their fiddles on their backs, wrapped in burlap, and they'd play it around the campfire to get the men feeling, well, homesick. And so I'm going to play for you the longest running song played by the U.S. Army, The Girl I Left Behind Me. I'm so lonesome since I crossed the hill o'er the moorland city. Such heavy thoughts my heart do fill since parting with my Betsy. Oh, I seek for someone fair and gay, but find none to remind me how sweet the hours I passed away with the girl I left behind me. Never shall forget the night the stars were high above me and gently lent their silvery light when first she vowed to love me. Oh, but now I'm off to Brighton, can't pray heaven, won't you guide me and lead me safely home again to the girl I left behind me. Her eyes like diamonds shining, her slender waist, her heavenly face that leaves my heart a-pining. Ye gods above, oh hear my prayer to beauteous fields, find me and lead me safely home again to the girl I left behind me.
Mike?
November. Veterans.
November? Like,
Veterans Day.
You want to make the announcement about Veterans Day?
Veterans Day. I didn't get that far in this, but we're looking at carrying the Birmingham Veterans Day Parade in November, something we've wanted to do for a long, long time. It's the oldest Veterans Day Parade in the country, as a lot of folks probably know, and we'll have it on APT.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you,
Are we
Mike.
going to present that, Mike, as part of the 250 celebration?
I haven't put any eyes on our marketing for it yet, but yeah.
I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
it was just a question. I'm not suggesting that.
We do we'll call everything 250th up until the December 31st.
Mr. Chairman, didn't George Staples help start the first parade?
Yes.
Yeah. I was a big fan of, and friends with late George Staples. And you were too.
Yes.
He was really a great man. He was like the transition between the old days and the civil rights era. He bridged it and did it very well. He made us an all-American city.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Mike. All right, and now for a report on WLRH in Huntsville, Eric Bruckner.
Slightly more important than America's 250th is this year is WLRH's 50th, coming in October. But no, since last October, WLRH has undergone a pretty significant transformation in our 50-year history, of course, shifting away from a heavily syndicated programming model towards more local first, multi-platform public media. Obviously, the transition created a lot of expected disruption with dropping NPR programming, some ratings fluctuation, mixed audience reaction, but some early indicators are showing some strong gains in revenue, digital engagement, and community impact. And some really exciting news to start off with. 2 weekends ago, we won 5 awards at the Alabama Broadcasters Association Annual Awards. This was for 2025. So statewide, we won for Best Radio Personality, and that was Bob Labby, who hosts a show called Reelin' in the Years. And he still plays, after he's been on the air doing this on WLRH for 35 years, still plays everything on vinyl records. Best Hard News for Bob Nance and his Tennessee Valley Political Roundup, which airs each morning. We won for Best Social Media. Our program director, Katie Ganaway, wrote an incredible, heartfelt explanation back in the fall of what we were doing in transitioning out of NPR affiliation into more local programming. We won for Best Event Client Promotion for Valley Sounds Live. So we have the only local music, local band show in the entire market. And in 2025, we took that on the road. And then we also won for Best Morning Show for Tennessee Valley Mornings, which was pretty incredible considering what it took to put the show together very quickly. It was a full staff effort to put a brand new show together that was something completely different. Well, I say full staff effort, it was sort of half of a staff. We had 4 people decide to leave within a couple of months, and the remaining staff did an amazing job of really putting this together. And the show is built around the entire staff as well, so everybody contributes content to the show, whether daily or weekly. And by my count, the best I could find was in the 20 years that the Alabama Broadcasters has been doing the awards, WLRH has won 7 in the first 19 years, and then we won 5 this year. So to me, that's impressive. It speaks to the incredible staff that we have and everything they do. Now, to the important part, money. Our spring fund drive for fiscal year Q2, January through March. So the key categories here, of course, membership. This is excuse me, comparing Q2 of this year to Q2 of 24 and 25. So with membership, we were down year over year for the quarter 7%. Underwriting, we were up 22%. And our gross revenue is up 4%. So for Q2, we beat the same quarter from 2024 and from 2025. So that shows some great momentum. And of course, it shows support from the business community and local leaders. Now taking a look at Q1, which was the fall, and Q2 combined. This is where it's not all sunshine and rainbows necessarily. We did get hurt in Q1 with membership down 40%, gross revenue down 32%. But the Q2 numbers that we just talked about have sort of course corrected us and is showing that we're headed in the right direction. Then the next slide is just basically the same info, just sort of in graph form. That second batch there, you can see where Q1 and Q2 combined is showing that it's falling behind the previous 2 years. But then again, when you take a look at the next slide with Q2 versus the previous 2 years Q2, you can see where showing some great growth in gross revenue, underwriting, and membership is starting to come back. So the market's responding positively to our local first strategy, even as membership temporarily softens during the transition. So where did all of our listeners go? They're still here. So we subscribe to the spring and fall Nielsen Ratings Diary, the most recent being the October, November, December ratings book. So everybody likes to look at average quarter hour share, which is that top line number right there. That's the percentage of all radio listening at any given time. So as you can look over the last 5 ratings periods, our trend is a 3.8 to a 2.1 to a 2.7 to a 3.0 to a 2.0. So for the fall, we were under what our 5-book average is, which is 2.8. So average quarter hour is typically the big headline number that everybody reacts to, but it's not really the total audience. It's a mix of how many people are listening and how long they are listening. So in our case here, this is really reflecting shorter listening sessions, not fewer people. In fact, we had 3% more total listeners in fall of 2025 than we did in spring of 2025. So the key here, again, average quarter hour, listeners times time spent listening. So a drop in that average quarter hour number does not necessarily equal a proportional loss of our total audience. Average quarter hour share, it's focused on so much because agencies buy advertising on commercial stations based on who is listening right this minute. And that's not what we do. We don't sell 20 minutes of advertising an hour. We operate completely differently. So our key takeaway is total audience reach, which is still strong for us, engagement, revenue growth, and community impact. So WLRH has not lost our entire audience. Our weekly reach is holding steady. Again, October, November, December, we had slightly more listeners than April through June of 2024 and 2025. So people are still sampling and returning. What we did lose is we lost a lot of listening. So people are tuning in, but they're listening a lot less. In fact, on average, an hour and 15 minutes less per week, which honestly is a huge number to lose. But it's also a big opportunity. So getting those listeners who are still there with us to listen equally as long as they used to again. So that's going to be done through on-air cross-promotion, marketing, public events, exposure, and social media reach. And another good sign of where we're headed is our digital growth and engagement. Our social media performance in Q2 2026 year over year is strong. On Facebook, our views are up 68%. Interactions, where our listeners and followers are interacting with our content, up 120%. Our follows up 83%. Instagram, a similar story, 70% increase in reach, 92% increase in people going to our account. So we're beginning to produce better social content, which is going to equal better opportunities to get people listening to the radio station more, which is going to equal more chances to get their support through membership. Then looking at year-to-date digital growth, it's a very similar story. So that's Q1 and Q2 combined. Facebook views up 40% year over year, interactions up 75%, Instagram reach up 28%. So we're definitely targeting the audience segment that is shifting towards digital-first engagement, and eventually we're going to lean on producing more unique digital-only content to engage the people who only consume digital content. National impact. So coming up in July in Chicago is the Public Media Growth Conference, which is the largest public media conference annually. And WLRH will be featured in a 75-minute opening session at the conference, which will be called Would You Build Your Station Again? It's reimagining public radio from scratch if you had to build it starting in 2026. Would we still be doing the exact same thing, or would we be doing it differently? So we're going to rethink everything: audience promotions, marketing, personalities, talent coaching, distribution, digital content, revenue. This will actually be hosted by me. I have no idea how I got myself into these things, but that's what it is. I'm going to have a great panel of some public radio and commercial radio professionals to see what each other can learn about, and how we can kind of take the best of both worlds and reimagine what public radio might look like for now and in the future. All right, local impact. Tennessee Valley Mornings, which we mentioned, we launched in October. our flagship show, a daily mix of local, national, global news, long-form, in-depth interviews and stories. And these are features of local interest, human interest, arts, entertainment, science, and tech. And again, this goes back to where all of our staff is contributing to this show. Some high-impact interviews recently. We have Huntsville Utilities CEO, Madison Hospital President, Huntsville City Council President, et cetera, et cetera. So the local leaders are now knowing that WLRH is the place to go for real meaningful connection to our community. So we're doing what basically other local stations won't do and can't do. They don't have enough people or resources. All the big companies regionalized everything. They won't dedicate the time to go in depth. They want 30-second sound bites. And now people know that we can go more in depth and reach more people that way. So our hyper-local strategy, obviously it's working, contributing to our business confidence in that 22% underwriting growth for Q2 that I mentioned. And our community impact quarterly. We feature over 75 public service announcement partner organizations. We air over 3,500 public service announcement messages so that we give nonprofits across healthcare, arts, education, social services. We give them a place to get their message out. Later this year, we'll be launching a listener advisory committee, a diverse group of listeners to help us ensure that we're making the right connection to our audience when we're making our programming decisions. And I mentioned some people left. That meant we had a great opportunity to add some new hires. So we did so in membership with Lisa Chang, digital content and Sunny Hood, a new morning blend host. That's our 9 to noon show, which actually that show won an Alabama Broadcasters Association award last year. Those two hosts retired, and so we have a new host, Mike, who's been on a couple weeks, doing a great job. And coming soon, a new morning show host / news director. So a lot of fantastic stuff going on.
I just wanted to send my sympathy to staff because Microwave Dave was a national treasure, and his blues show was phenomenal.
Yes, Microwave Dave passed away in February. He was on our radio station, for anybody who doesn't know, for 36 years doing the blues show, but he was not just a North Alabama musical legend, but known worldwide in the blues community, and just such a treasure, not just as a musician, but as a genuine person. So, yeah.
Awesome. You've done a great job.
Yes, congratulations.
The amount of work that you do, and you turn on the radio, and I happen to hear this familiar voice an awful lot of the time, but I listen in the mornings, early mornings.
And again, we have an incredible collection of people who have a ton of public media experience, who have a ton of commercial radio experience, who have other nonprofit organization experience, and the way it all comes together is pretty amazing.
And I want to push for the room that you have up there that would make a great place for you to have your bands come in and make it into a recording studio, because there's so much coming into Huntsville right now.
Oh, yeah.
And that would be, not that we have extra money at the moment, but I hope eventually that we can do something there.
And as we evolve some of our music programs and music hours and things like that, that's one thing that we are definitely planning on doing, is hopefully getting a lot of money to revamp the big room in there and turn it into our performance studio so that we can attract those artists and do some live events, do some recorded events, do some more listener events.
Thanks, Eric.
Yes, Pete.
Sure. Just as a point of clarification and hopefully unity, I wanted to make a motion that would, well, it reads as follows. I move that the AETC maintain and continue its successful partnership with PBS indefinitely or until there is a proven and verifiable financial reason not to do so. I think that would be super useful, and just looking for a second.
I think that's a I think that's the fiscally responsible move to make at this time, so I will second that motion.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Okay, I think the ayes have it.
The importance of the driver of PBS. And then I heard several comments related to Alabama's values, and I'm not really understanding what the difference in Alabama's values and the content of PBS. I watch PBS daily. I'm a regular watcher of the NewsHour. I'm an independent, and I feel like it's important that you understand that because there clearly seems to be a hidden political agenda here. And so what I want you to understand is that I am not a bot. I wrote the letter. Thank you for providing the format that's very easy to add the letter in. But I wrote the letter. I wrote 2 letters, and I sent one to each of you. And my concern is if you disenfranchise from PBS, I don't know if people are aware, but you can get PBS content by supporting a state that supports PBS. And that's where my money's going to go. If you disaffiliate with PBS, your mission in the nonprofit world, we call that mission drift. And if you drift from PBS, you are drifting from your mission, which is to enrich and educate Alabamians. This whole idea about hiring a professional, like my money, and I have been a contributor for 40 years. My money is going to go somewhere else. And I want you to understand that I'm watching, and this is not going to be the last time you see me.
Michael Schneiderman.
Good afternoon, honorable commissioners. Thank you for listening to the voice of the people. Thank you for your vote to continue the affiliation with PBS. I echo the remarks. I think it's pretty clear from the ad hoc committee's report, in addition to Wayne's very knowledgeable report back in November, but also the additional information you received today regarding the potential impact and loss of viewership that could happen if cable channels bump APT PBS to some obscure site and the impact and cost to re-promote and remarket. I am disappointed in the decision on the survey. Again, the letter from the governor was very clear that a survey shouldn't be undertaken unless you make the move to disaffiliate. Unfortunately, the McLaughlin Group is clearly a GOP polling firm, not an independent polling firm. A marketing survey company would have been the better approach for that. Finally, I wanted to mention that, as many of you know who have sat on boards, and I've sat on many nonprofit boards and chaired boards, it's typical for members of boards and also the foundation, which is meeting afterwards, those people should be actively supporting fundraising and development, and also should be paying members and supporting financially Alabama Public Television. From my understanding of the legislative bylaws of this commission, you're not required to actually be a paying member of APT. I would hope that all of you are, and I would hope that you would be actively working, as you mentioned, Ms. Williams, to bringing money to the table, making it rain to support the public television network that so many of us in Alabama support. Thank you very much.
Elaine Witt.
Hi, just to follow up on what
Commissioner Williams and Mr. Schneiderman just said. It is typical for nonprofit boards to support the development team by bringing donors to them or making those introductions. And because this is a politically appointed board and your foundation board is as well, y'all might not want to do that or you might not be able to do that. But, and I've mentioned this to Commissioner Stevens before, you can set up a volunteer development committee that will help your development team make those meetings, get those introductions to the deep pockets that they need. And it's so important. And if you just look at who your largest donors are, those are the people that might be willing to sit on such a committee. And I think the board should formalize that. And I think the board should also formalize that to be on this board, you need to be, at the very least, a member of PBS and be making a personal contribution. I will also add that, you know, we're talking about raising money on the one hand, and on the other hand, you've taken an action today that calls into question your commitment to PBS. If you would use the University of Alabama polling outfit, which is very legitimate, or if you would let this committee that you brought in of broadcasting professionals who have been in the business, they're the ones who hire the marketing term, not your politically appointed chair, who not only wants to bring in a political polling firm, but he wants to review the questions. That is unprofessional. Polling questions are to be determined professionally, not by political appointees, not to bring in some GOP polling firm, and certainly not to ignore the expertise right here in our state at the University of Alabama, which is not a political polling firm. Or you get your committee, that you've disrespected this committee by bringing them in and ignoring their recommendation, and then not asking them how to hire a broadcast marketing firm. No, you've gone to your political contacts. Well, that's not where you get the kind of polling firm that you need. Thank you.
I did a little research on what McLaughlin does. They do public opinion and survey research. Of course, what they're known for most is publicly is political campaign. They do corporate market research, strategic consulting, media planning and advertising buying, and their non-political work, which is overlooked, is Fortune 500 companies, industry associations, brands doing market research and customer analysis. But unfortunately, when you hear them, is usually in a political context. So that's why you know, it's being mischaracterized as an only GOP political research group. But it does everything, and I don't think they could survive or be that big if all they did was politics and for one particular party. So McLaughlin is the type of company that you all will want us to look for.
Elaine, would you like to respond to that?
Well, I'd like to say, number one, why is the chairman of the commission the person who is choosing the marketing firm? Why isn't the staff making a recommendation about that? And why isn't this committee that you brought in of broadcasting professionals making a recommendation about that?
Okay, I just wanted to clear up misunderstanding about the company that was chosen, that's all. Thank you.
I've not been part of this before, but it's very interesting to watch the dynamic. My recommendation to you, Chairman, is that you undermine your executive director. Because, in my opinion, the commission should make a recommendation to your executive director to search for, bid a number of different research companies. There are a number other than the one you have selected. And there are others that do a better job of researching television dynamic and viewership, wants, dislikes, et cetera. that would do a better service. And I think you not only mischaracterized the value of the research, given what the governor's letter stated. You want to do research, to your point, sir. I think that's a really wise thing to do, to look at the future and to say, in the next 5 years, where should we be? I think that's a brilliant thing to do. Everybody should do that. It's part of strategic planning. But I think you undermine the executive director's position by not assigning him the job of saying, we decided we want to do research. You come back to us with several recommendations on research companies and why you want to do it, dollars, cents, have them make a presentation, however you want to do it. But just selecting one because that's what you decided to do and then foisting that on your executive director, I think is a mischaracterization of your duties and responsibilities.
Well, I've got to say so. This isn't the first time. I've discussed this on numerous occasions with Wayne, this particular company. I didn't go outside of him. We did talk about it, and then then the commission all decided as a group. So I wouldn't do that.
Okay, our next speaker is McGregor Flanders Jr.
I'm just Greg. McGregor's too much trouble. But I am not a bot. I'd like to address two little points. I wrote my letter. I've attended 2 of these previous events, and I'm slowly catching on to what's going on. You folks at Alabama Public Television and Radio are wonderful. That ought to come first. And then you folks, with the administrative, go to your executive director. Great idea. But I'm really, really, really concerned after 3, this is my 3rd gathering here. And please, I'm here as me. I live in rural Cleveland County. I've been a teacher, a Marine, a business person, lots of other odd jobs. So I'm here as me. And I want to make sure that you realize that some of us care about Alabama Public Television and Radio, for that matter, and they're doing wonderful work, and we want to keep it. Now, here's my other point that was already raised, and I am very, very, very concerned that you commissioners should only be commissioners if you care about and support Alabama Public Television with your money, your actions, different ways of doing it, sure. Get together and work those out, for God's sake. But the one goal, every question, will this help Alabama Public Television? Please, folks, get it together. We've tried to show you we want it. The benefits are obvious. Please support Alabama Public Television. Make sure every decision you make is to the benefit of APT. Thank you.
Okay, next is Pam Caruso.
Thank you for letting me talk today. This too is my 3rd visit, and I am been struck by the wonderful people here from APT, the enthusiasm they show for what they're doing, and then the commission who attacks, Jack Williams when he brings something up, criticizes him for talking to a legislator and replying, giving you what the legislator said. You didn't like it. It really bothers me. And I do not feel that you have the care of APT that you should. Another thing, I don't want to get my little Robert's Rules of Order out, but we ought to have an agenda. That should be published. It isn't. The minutes haven't been put out in a year. You're a year behind. When you guys made the decision to get rid of NPR, you did that in an executive meeting, a closed meeting. That defies the open meeting rules. I'll be back next time in July. Thank you.
Next speaker is Wayne Laney. Okay. Okay. Liz Laney.
I'm Liz Laney. I've written y'all a lot of messages, and I'm not a bot. And thanks for Eric's report. I'm from Huntsville, and since WLRH is such a big part of your mission, I encourage you to have a meeting in Huntsville. And that's all I have to say today.
Michael Crawl.
I may just move this up a little bit so I don't hurt my back. I think that's the way to go about it. Yeah, I think so. My back, thanks you. I want to thank too, as I understand it, maintain PBS affiliation indefinitely until a verifiable reason to do otherwise. That said, I'd still like to share some remarks here. APT is a lifeline. It provides essential children's programming, trusted news, arts, science, history that thousands of Alabamians rely on every day. I hope you guys know this. It's free and accessible to everyone. That's exactly why APT doesn't require donations. They ask for them. With the loss of federal support from Corporation for Public Broadcasting, stations across the country, this is no surprise, are under serious financial strain. And in moments like this, maintaining PBS affiliation is what keeps APT stable and viable. Because without paying PBS dues, APT loses the programming, and as we heard, the national infrastructure that supports its service. We heard that from the executive director's report. We heard that from the review committee. Respectfully, what more needs to be seen? We already know what happens when a station is cut off from its network. After WLRH-FM in Huntsville was told to drop NPR programming, audience and major donor support fell sharply. It remains to be seen what the future holds for WLRH. If APT loses PBS, the damage, even if we're talking 3 or 4 years out, will be severe and irreversible. Alabamians deserve a strong, stable public media system that includes TV and radio, not one that is weakened by decisions that put its future at risk. I want to thank the staff of APT. I want to thank the staff of WLRH for their service, and I want to thank the Commission for having public comments.
And next is Linda Varon.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I can't even get up here. Okay. Hopefully you can hear me. I didn't plan to talk about the survey, but just quickly, you have a survey every day. You have ratings. You know how many people watch. Well, if more people are watching your show than the next top rated TV station in Alabama, I don't know what else you need to know. But there are perfectly good qualified firms in Alabama, non-political ones. A 20-minute survey, no, you're self-selecting old people because everyone else is busy with little kids and going to work and stuff like that. So, I mean, surveys that most people do are 3 or 4 questions and you're done. But that's not really why I'm here. Well, what qualifies me to talk about a survey? I've been in the electronics and advertising business for my entire career, well over 55 years, sold hundreds of millions in electronics. I've spent $50 million in advertising. So I know about surveys and I've commissioned many of them. Okay, but that's not what I was going to talk about. Alabama's always at the bottom 10 states for education out of 50 states. You want to take away PBS, one of the best resources to help educate our children. Over 50% of our kids don't even have access to pre-K. I mean, and I remember at the last meeting, there was a couple women that just gave heart-rending testimonies that they have autistic kids, and this was the best resource for them to educate their kids. I mean, that take away Big Bird, Bert and Ernie, I mean, really. And the adult shows are unparalleled, outstanding documentaries on most any topic. And again, having been in advertising and electronics, I know what it takes to produce these shows. They're not free, and you cannot replace them for a couple $1 million a year. I contribute to PBS, to APT on a regular basis. I upped it this year by 50% because I'm hoping that it will continue because it has done such an incredible job for the variety that you get, all audiences that you appeal to. It's unbelievable. And I was going to say that Arkansas is the only state that has given up PBS, but I heard the update here. So all that I'll say about that is, I don't know about you, but I would much rather be with the Tide and the Tigers than the Hogs. So I say, go APT, go PBS. Thank you.
She's the last. Okay, thank you.
Ferris.
Yes.
I so appreciate the public comments, and I find them inspirational, and as a result, I have a couple of motions. The first motion I'd like to make is to move our next meeting to Huntsville instead of Birmingham. Low-hanging fruit, and I wonder if the commission would consider that. Is there a second?
Can the facilities accommodate that?
We can find a place.
You know,
Pending a suitable location.
you know,
University, we've got a library.
you know, actually, we had discussed that, and we were looking at the one after that to do it, but is that okay to do the one, not the next one, but the one after?
Why don't we do
Yes,
the,
I'd already asked for that for us, but so not this one, but the next one.
are you okay with this, doing the next one?
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to have it up in
I mean,
Huntsville.
if we commit right now to doing the next one and we still haven't found a place, I think that the best move would be.
I can
commit to the
guarantee,
one
I can
afterward.
guarantee a place.
I mean, if you all are sure, and you know,
venue's
but
not the
I'm
issue.
just saying, I don't know anything about Huntsville, but if you all guarantee a place and, you know, free or whatever the case may be.
Great.
You know.
Does that work for everyone? I want to accommodate everyone. Well,
If it doesn't require a motion, that's fine, but.
No. Can we do it the next time? Because I don't think I can be there for that one for sure.
yeah, let's
Just, I want to have it.
Well, if you can't be there, that matters. Okay. Sure, well, the next one, and let's commit to that.
Yeah.
Okay, the second
As long as we
motion.
get it.
Thanks.
Yeah, and what I was thinking of is, when we did Space Kids at one time, we had, we met where they playing the moonshot. We met in the conference room where the moonshot was playing, and that was.
we had a meeting there one time.
Yeah, and we could build a room down there and have it there.
And so-
at the-
Yeah, and so, the Space Force is, you know.
Rent it, I mean, but it wasn't terribly expensive.
Terrific.
Anyway.
Okay, and then the other motions, and, the second motion is to reconsider the previous motion. And I wonder if we could, if there would be an interest in holding off on the survey, and instead of hiring the firm that you had mentioned, we ask that Wayne simply oversee the survey so that we take the politics out of it, and Wayne will run with it without a predetermined company having been selected by you, Ferris.
Basically, if we're gonna do that, we need to have one of the people who voted for the motion, bring it up again for reconsideration. People who voted against it aren't allowed to do that under normal procedures because the meeting just goes on and on until hell freezes over. And so that's why that control is in place. It's been in place since
That's right.
hundreds of years.
Also, the premise that it was a political decision, I mean,
That's my
unless.
personal, that's
That's
my
what I'm
personal
saying, so we
observation.
can't operate on you saying that it was political without any proof. I mean, other than the fact that they've done, surveys for just happen to be, GOP. So I think,
I'll talk
I
to him.
reject your premise on that, therefore, I don't think we need to bring it up on the vote unless you can prove that it was politically motivated. Cause that impugns his character, and I think that maybe you shouldn't do that with no proof before you say it was politically motivated.
We'll have a side conversation, but
yeah,
irrespective,
I
my interest would be for Wayne to oversee the process.
Okay, you can say that, but never because it was
Could we move on?
political.
This is
Politically
dealt with.
motivated.
This is irregular. We're trying to get to some kind of a tour at 2:00, and we just keep on beating this dead horse. This horse is dead for this meeting.
Okay. Well,
Hey,
it has to be someone that voted the opposite way, but, so is
I move
anyone?
we adjourn. We were supposed to adjourn before the comments, as a matter of fact, from our last agreement.
Oh, well, Not necessarily.
Lou,
No.
No, because they're part of the
But,
meeting.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Okay, there being no one from the other side to bring it up, then, I guess we'll go to the next thing, is, the motion to adjourn. Do I hear a motion to?
Motion.
Second. Okay. All in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.